The following is brought to you by the People's National Party.
Make the trumpets play. Jamaican people want better. Economy coming like stormy weather. Ancestors are turning on them grave. They can tell me how we can do it together. When we look at the future of precipice, we see Jamaica needs the vision of the PNP. People said the bag of promises, them can't carry go shop. And the crime rate getting high, I wonder when it all goes now, comrades. Jamaican people want better. Economy coming like stormy weather. Ancestors are turning on them grave. We can tell me how.
The proceeding was brought to you by the People's National Party.
The scale of dealing with anti-corruption issues. So there is a learning curve that we are going through. What is important is that the government supports the development of the institution so it can accelerate very quickly on that learning curve and provide the resources so that they can move very quickly on the learning curve, and that the government does not intervene or interfere. And that message goes to the opposition as well. Leave the anti-corruption and policing agencies to do their jobs. I know why you come to me with that foolishness, you know. You elect a prime minister, and is a prime minister run the country. It is time we learn to hold our leaders accountable for their actions and stop making excuses for them. Stop making excuses. Otherwise, go elect the people who really run in the country. And I don't want the right start that stupid argument. Hold the people you elect accountable and stop making excuses for them.
Hello, welcome. Happy Tuesday to everyone. Thank you so much as usual for tuning in. Happy Tuesday to those in television land. Happy Tuesday to our silent supporters. Happy Tuesday to everyone in the chat. Guys, remember when you come in, thumbs up the live, share us out if you can. And if you're new to the channel, please show us some support by subscribing. That will be greatly appreciated. And remember that our membership is still active for that extra support. Tonight's topic is the Andrew Holness and Paul Buchanan saga with your host, Mystic Sensation, which comprises Baron and Marie. We also have Melting Pot in the building, and we should be joined shortly by Mr. Rattigan. Let me just welcome those in the chat. Patel Cruikshank, Azil Mafia, God is my creator, Barbara Wigan, Sharon Ricketts, Elaine Turner, Sonia Sterling, Bolo Clips, welcome Bolo, bless up yourself. Karine Arasavia, blessings, a channel member, thank you so much. Uriel Adarma, welcome, and Lorraine Taylor, welcome, bless up. Let me see who's down here. Simon Barrett, Christopher Wright, Rolva Elliston, Malmal Thompson, Kinsey Anglin, Marie May, welcome, blessings. Happy Tuesday, Assad God, blessings. Without any delay, I'm going to hand over to Baron, and just remember to keep those on the western end of the island still in our prayers. They're now out of the they're now in the building phase of what they're doing, so let's see how quickly they can do that, because now they say that they're out of the relief phase, so they're now onto the building phase. So let's see what's gonna happen. Without any delay, I'm going to hand over to Byron. Beverly Davis, bless up yourself, welcome.
All right, thank you, honey, for that usual wonderful precursor as always. Thank you for a wonderful job that you have done today. Really appreciate of that. And you know, before I go any further, I want to say big up to all the people in the chat and all the people who continue to support Mystic Sensation. Right, we so much appreciative of that. We want to tell you big thanks for your energy. It's your energy that continues to fuel us. right? So big up all the peeps, big up all the persons, right? That passing on the information and so forth and so forth and so forth. Now, of course, before we get into tonight's show is going to be very exciting. Let me say that Brother Ratigan will be tuning in shortly. So Melting Pot is here. Let me just, without any delay, because we are eager to get into tonight's show. Right, let me just have Brother Melting Pot, right, just meet and greet as usual. Brother Melting Pot, step in.
Yes, sir, Byron. Greetings and blessings as usual to everyone.
Blessings, my brother.
Tonight, to the Mystic Sensation Live. As usual, we are here to, just dissect as we go along matters and so I want to big up everyone in the chat tonight. It's nice to have you all here. Sharing the space with us, give us the energy. I also want to, acknowledge the host, Sir Lord Byron, our technical director, Lady Anne Marie, and our extended panel, Mr. Wilfred Rattigan, soon be in the house. So without any further ado, I just hand back the floor to the host.
All right. Thank you for that, Melting Pot. Right. Tonight, people, you know that we must, right, get in depth as it relates to the Paul Buchanan versus the Constitution, the constituted authority. We'll be delved into that. But before we touch that, right, because meanwhile we are doing this, we are just anticipating Brother Rattigan arrival. So, but people, I want to speak into first. Let me say this. Again, I am applauding the performance of the opposition in Parliament today. People, what a bangarang. What a bangarang. No, officially today, people, Flavor is now Parliament beaten tick. What I say, people? Flavor becomes Parliament beaten stick, and rightly so. But let me just pull out a few little interesting points that were pointed out as it relates to the Parliament. Now we're talking about the 150 million US dollars, right, that allotted for the JPS. We need to have some clarity for that. Because as it relates to the questions, right, beating around that issue for clarity, right, we have seen Damian Crawford, right, pursuing that. We have seen also Isaac Buchanan pursuing that. Boy, I'm telling you, Julian Robinson pursuing that. But I'm telling you that, trust me, I'm so proud of the opposition. So proud of the opposition. However, we had witness as it relates to Darrell Vaz, and Darrell Vaz couldn't even help Flavor today, even although Flavor asked help.
Him couldn't help himself either the first time he come out with it, because he went into a whole rant and rave and calling people bad night because he didn't know what to answer, sir.
Well, we heard, honey, Darrell Vaz stated that, okay, $150 million, right, that will be going to JPS. Right, he has a license for 2 years, right? And we were believed that, okay, the total amount, right, as it relates to re-energize, right, the entire island, we were told it was 350 million US dollars, right? That's what we were told. Now, with the predicament where they must shuffle. Now, it is not that. It seems like now the total extend to 450 million US dollars. So then we have to deal with that. We have to deal with that. And we were told that 2.6 of the $6.7 billion, right, allotted for the business community, right? And out of that, right, the business community could seek some loan And we were told that within that space of the $2.6 billion, right, JPS would have gotten some loan agreement between them and the IMF. I believe that was what uttered out there. And of course, we'll be getting back our $150 million from that. But we see some shifting, right? And we need clarity. Is it that we are going to fund the entire 350 or 400 million? What is going on? So definitely, where the argument being pursued for clarity, right? Trust me, the opposition had done well. So we want to know specifically what is going on with that. Now we have been told also, right, as it relates to today's event, that it seems like what Flavor is saying, that the $150 million, you understand, can deal with a full recovery. Then if the $150 million can deal with a full recovery, right, what is going to happen to the other 200 or 250 million? So right there, sir, people, right there, sir, we need some clarity. And Favor, again, I don't understand what people. Favor, who is the Minister of Finance, right? Don't have the detail.
She is the face of the Ministry of Finance. Andrew is the Minister of Finance.
Right? Well, I'm talking about they have one book, you know, right? Favor is the Minister of Finance. And you are going to tell me the person who is going to sign off, don't know the detail, and directing questions to go to Mr. Badmine, directing questions to go when eat, take her in the kitchen. She is directing the questions to go to Darrell Vaz. What is this, my people? When Favor Williams is the Minister of Finance, right? Her signature is important on that. So we don't understand. I don't understand. So that need some clarity where that is concerned. Now, we could just rest that this up and let me say big up to the opposition, right? Big up to Isaac Buchanan, big up to Damian Crawford, right? Big up to Julian Robinson and all the others who are, of course, standing and defending, right, taxpayers' money, right, and taxpayers' interests, right? So what I'm saying, we are saying thanks for the opposition, right, as it relates to political representation. We are getting some strong representation where that is concerned, right? You see them in Parliament and defending and deep diving, and you understand, putting the Minister of Finance under pressure. But unbelievable, my people, in terms of the performance, I was so shocked, right? I was so embarrassed, right, as it relates to Favor Williams' response. Trust me, I mean, it was just crazy, right? Elaine Turner said, yes, they did excellent today. Bless up yourself, Sister Elaine.
You mean lack of response, because she just talk around the questions and really directly answer and give concrete answers.
Exactly. All right. Now, we are going to get to the elephant in the room, right? I don't know if Melting Pot wanted to add anything on that. Melting Pot, did you want to add anything on that as it relates to Parliament situation, or you want me to just move on?
No, continue, because I didn't watch the Parliament debate today, so I'm not privy to what you said. But one thing I know for sure, yeah, based on what you have said,
yes,
they were a shamble, simple because they have not been under this, extreme pressure from any opposition for the past umpteen years. So it's like they have not been up against any competitors. So, you see where now they are lacking in terms of being able to debate the question that they put on the table. And when, I know because previous session has shown that they come under increasing pressure, and then they start to use some naysayer word like, bad mind, all these type of narrative where they are not Parliament, word that should be used, wicked, all these things corrupt, liars, you know. Come on, man.
Yeah.
Them in a shambling, you know.
All
Look,
right.
you know, we just
Yes.
know that for a fact. Yeah, my
The
friend.
long and short of it, the long and short of it, as it relates to the response that we had gotten from Flavor Williams today was really embarrassing, right? Flavor should have been equipped with information. She's the minister of finance, right? I don't see why she's directing, right, the questions to go to Darrell Vaz, right?
But I'm sorry, if you remember a later statement outside of Parliament that Darrell made was that he was told from the Minister of Finance that this is what was going to happen. And they asked him, did you ask any questions? And he said, why should I do as I'm told?
Yes.
And yet she's directing questions back to him.
Back to him. So we don't understand that. That is just below the belt. If you ask me, really below the belt. It is just really embarrassing that the finance minister, right, have come to Parliament unequipped, right, as it relates to the relevant questions, right, that meted out to her. I was really surprised, unbelievable, couldn't believe it, right. Anyway, right, let us move on to, we are going to address now the elephant in the room. Right, we have seen, as it relates to the discrepancies of the general election, right, and as a result of that, Paul Buchanan felt that, of course, he was cheated out of a win, and so then, right, Paul Buchanan, right, made a complaint to the constituted authority, but where the constituted authority, right, decided that there is a nothing burger, nothing to see there, and so forth. And as such, Paul Buchanan decided that, okay, he did not please with the judgment, and rightly so, right? He moved the judgment to the Supreme Court for the Supreme Court to overturn the decision of the constituted authority and for the constituted authority to refer the case in the election court. All right, Brother Rattigan is here. All right, so Brother Rattigan is in the space, right? Okay, so Brother Rattigan is tying out in the back, in the lobby here and there. All right, so this is where it's at now, where the Supreme Court now sided with the constituted authority, right? And trust me, my people, let me say this. It is, how should I put this now? It is a shock as it relates to, that record now on our jurisprudence. And as such, right, the mission now is to pursue the Privy Council, and rightly so. Without any hesitation, let us bring up that document. And, okay, let me just, Brother Rattigan is up now. Let me just have Brother Rattigan meet and greet as usual, because, yes, man, we are going to set the pace tonight, Brother Rattigan.
Yes, indeed. Good night, everyone. Lord Byron, Lady Anne Marie,
blessings.
Melting Pot. If this is Tuesday night, then we're at the right place. This is
all right.
Good to be here. Looking forward to the discussion.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. All right. So as we were talking about the process as it relates to the first step, as it relates to the discrepancy within the outcome of the general election, right? As such, we have Paul Buchanan decided that he's going to have his complaint lodged to the constituted authority. The constituted authority, right, did not rule in favor of Paul Buchanan, and as such, Paul Buchanan stepped up to another level where he had gone out to the Supreme Court, and unfortunately, this is where we stand, where the Supreme Court now sided with the constituted authority. But we are going to touch some interesting situation tonight. But first, let us read this information in terms of what we are getting here. All right.
This is how they're looking now.
Yeah, that document share?
Yep.
Okay. PNP Paul Buchanan, hold on. That is the document that I...
Yep.
Okay, all right. PNP's Paul Buchanan loses latest bid to overturn Holness victory in St. Andrew West Central. Right? Now, let us get into it. The Supreme Court has dismissed Paul Buchanan's latest attempt to overturn the election result for the St. Andrew West Central constituency, which was won by Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness in September's general election. Buchanan of the opposition People's National Party filed an application for permission to seek judicial review of the decision of the constituted authority not to apply to the election court to void the result of the September 3 poll. And people, this is the first paragraph here is very important, because here the situation. Here, this is what is key tonight in terms of what we are going to discuss. Buchanan of the opposition People's National Party filed an application for permission to seek judicial review of the decision of the constituted authority. What is important, not to apply to the election court to void the result of the September 3 poll. Justice Sonia Wint Blair, in delivering the decision on Monday, ruled that the application was not arguable and was subject to a knockout blow in law. Wow, now understand that. The court found that the mandatory statutory time period for challenging the election results had expired, and that the October 8 judicial review application was futile. Right here is where I am confused, because in terms of my knowledge, we are going to delve into that, right? Paul Buchanan, right, would have filed his application on time, right, because he had gotten 14 days to file, and Paul Buchanan filed on the 9th day. Paul Buchanan got 14 days to file. However, he filed on the 9th day with a 5 days advance, right? So we are going to reason it out. The court found that the mandatory statutory time period for challenging the election result had expired, and that the October 8 judicial review application was futile. We don't understand that. The judge said even if the court granted the orders compelling the constituted authority to refer the matter, the outcome would be void, because the law prevents the court from extending the time set by Parliament for such electoral challenges. I want to know which particular time, right, that the judge is making reference to. Because if it is the time as it relates to, right, what happened September 3 and the immediacy that the complaint need to be lodged, right, that as it relates to the law, right, is 14 days. And he had done that within 9 days. So I'm very much confused right here, right? Now, let us read on. In electoral matters, time is of the essence. Therefore, not only must this court be satisfied that the threshold test for leave has been surmounted, but there must also be an overlay of electoral realities as a matter of law, the judge said. She concluded that the threshold test has not been surmounted. The constituted authority is a special independent public body created under Jamaica election laws to protect the integrity of national elections by deciding whether a flawed election should be sent to the election court, which could void result. No, me have a problem with this, because what she's saying here is not actually true. The constituted authority is a special independent public body created under Jamaica election laws to protect the integrity of national election by deciding whether a flawed election should be sent to the election court, which could void the result. Right? The statutory period of the constituted authority to apply to the election court to void the taking of a poll is 14 days from the date the poll was taken. Well, let me say, right, and I know that Brother Rattigan and Melting Pot, right, will add, right, their input to this as well. Paul Buchanan cannot be blamed. Right? No blame can go to any of the lawyers that defend Paul Buchanan. Reason being, they had filed in time and filed within the 14 days. Now, Buchanan has alleged numerous irregularities with the poll in St. Andrew West Central on September 3, among other things. He pointed out to the concerns about the electronic voter identification system and the process to identify voters, but the constituted authority dismissed his complaint. Now, let us take on this. And I want to argue, right? Yeah, let me just first bring Brother Ratty in this piece, because let me say that, Brother Ratty, I am very much confused as it relates to the judge speaking on a statutory lapse, right? If I could call it that, a statutory lapse, right? Where, right, filing, right, is concerned, right? Ratty, walk us through specifically what the judge is referring to. What statutory lapse that the judge is referring to. Walk us through that.
Again, good night, everyone.
Pleasant.
Byron, I'm not confused, and I'm not so sure if the judge is confused, because when somebody's elevated to the position of a judge, it doesn't mean that all the decisions will be correct. But goodness gracious, man, if you're going to have a decision that is going to be overturned, at least let it be based on something that people can say, okay, I can see the argument. Here, there is no argument. You can't see it. And I'll tell you why, people. I don't know if it's negligence, incompetence, or just being deliberate, but what she did was she conflated two statutes. There is one called the Election Petitions Act, and that statute was from the 1800s. And then you have the Representation of People Act, which was 1940s. In the Election Petitions Act, it says that you can file an election petition, and that election petition must be filed with the Supreme Court. You file it.
Yeah, but Rocky, hold on. But Rocky, as far as we know, Paul Buchanan did not utilize the Election Petition Act. Outstanding point. And that's where I'm going. That okay. Paul Buchanan didn't use the Election Petitions Act to file a complaint. He used the Representation of People Act. And under that act, you don't file with the Supreme Court, you file with the constituted authority, and then they file on your behalf with the election court. And somehow she spent a great deal of time. I've read her opinion twice already. And she spent a great deal of time talking about an election petition. And an election petition was never filed. So where is she going with that? Where is she going with that, Ratty?
I have no idea. He never filed one. He never, and in fact, you know what? There's a 1998 case, Blake versus Holness, or Blake versus Constituted Authority. Actually, it says Blake versus Holness, and in that case, the candidate at the time, Andrew Holness, he wasn't prime minister. It was his first go around. He sued Blake because he won the election first. Then they found there were discrepancies, and then they had a do-over. Blake won, and then the prime minister sued. He sued, and when he sued, guess what? When Blake sued to get the first one overturned, his argument was Blake filed an election petition, and under an election petition, guess what you have to do? You have to put up a security deposit. And he said they must dismiss the action because Blake filed an election petition and did not put up a security deposit. Guess what the court said? The court said, we have a new procedure. There was no election petition filed by this man. He filed under the constituted authority, which means it goes not to the Supreme Court, but to the election court. And they dismissed the action. It's the same thing now. It's exact same thing. He didn't file an election petition. And also, so all the things that she's talking about, she got it all mixed up because she's saying that he didn't file within a certain time period. And what she's actually talking about is, you see, when you file with the constituted authority, they have 28 days to send it on to the court, to the election court. Yes. And the election court has a discretion to give them, I think it's like 3 extra days. So because it wasn't filed within the 28 days, she's now blaming Paul Buchanan. But Paul Buchanan shouldn't be blamed because the constituted authority rejected his application. And when the application is rejected, there's only one place to go, and that's to the Supreme Court. So what she was saying was that Paul Buchanan should have utilized both. He should have utilized the 1888 statute. I think it's 1885 statute and the 1944 statute. So she's saying he should have filed both things. He should have filed a petition, an election petition in the Supreme Court, and at the same time, he should have filed a petition with the constituted authority.
And what the basis of that argument?
There's no basis for that argument. There's no basis for the argument. Here's the thing, people, what I want you to understand. You see, in law, you can't start out wrong and end up on the right track. Once you start out on the wrong track, your analysis is going to be wrong. And that's exactly what happened with this judge. She started out arguing, or started out with the idea that Paul Buchanan filed or should have filed an election petition. And Paul Buchanan's argument is very simple. He's saying, and here's why. Here's the difference. With the election petition that you file with the Supreme Court, it could take months before you get a hearing. It could take a long time. So what did the legislature did? In 1970, I think it's 1977, somewhere around there. What they did, they said, look, we're going to put in place a law that says you don't have to go to the Supreme Court if you don't want to, because it takes a long time. So we're going to put a new process in place. And this new process is going to be faster because guess what? The election court lasts only 6 months. It's from the date of election, 6 months thereafter, and then it's finished. So they're saying whatever problems you have with the elections must be completed within 6 months. So the election court is still sitting right now in a Byron.
Yes.
The election court it's not extinguished until next year, March.
Yeah.
It's still there. I mean, what I want to do is I want to share something with you to show you that what this lady did was just pure foolishness. What you did, my brother. What you did was just foolishness. All right. I'm going to show you something. Let me just share the screen with your permission.
Yes.
Let's see. Okay, there it is. All right, folks, this is the lawsuit. And there it is at the top, election court. This is the lawsuit when Andrew Holness sued But no, when Blake sued and Andrew Holness decided to mount a defense, right? And here's it's 1990. Here, let me show you the key part to this. The key part to this is right here. Hold on. There it is, right there. Andrew Holness was complaining that the man didn't spend he was complaining that under the election petition law that you have to put up a security deposit. And he said, so you have to dismiss Paul Buchanan's thing because he filed an election petition and he didn't put up the security deposit. Look what the court said. The court said, I find the submission untenable. The motion to void an election clearly is not an election petition.
An election petition.
Yeah. He said,
what she talking about election petition?
Yeah. He said, what Blake filed is not an election petition. Look at the next sentence. It said, the voiding of an election is a new and different regime created by the recent amendment to the Representation of the People Act in 1997. Yeah. So they're saying, they said, don't worry about the election petition act going back to 1800, whatever. They said, we have a new one now, a faster one, because this one now, everything must be done within 6 months. Whereas before, it could take years. It could take years.
Yeah, Arati, before you go any further.
Let me move this.
Yeah, before you go any further, right?
Oh, okay.
Based on what you're showing here. All right. The judge would have privy to this information. The judge should be knowledgeable of this.
Byron, you have a shock you?
Yes.
The judge quoted this case.
Then
put this case in her, to put this case in her judgment.
Then I should rule contrary to it.
Brother, my brother, I wish I could tell you. I wish I could tell you. She quoted this case in her judgment.
So Sonia is asking a question there.
Can he file it in the Supreme Court now?
Yeah, what he's doing. Oh no, you mean to go back and file election petition?
No, I don't think that can be done. Right?
No, it's too late. No, it can't do that. And then you wouldn't want to do that anyway, because that process is, even if he could do it, when you file it with the Supreme Court, there is no telling when they're going to listen to it. When you file it with the constituted authority, here how fast this is. When you file it with the constituted authority, I think they have to have a hearing within 60 days. And after that hearing, they have 48 hours to render a decision. That's how fast it is. They have 2 days to get a decision. Whereas with the Supreme Court, God knows when they're going to hear this case. And God knows even they hear when they're going to render an opinion. This one, by law, they have 2 days after they hear it to render this thing. And guess what? The whole process must be done within 6 months. The whole process. And that's the one he filed under. She's saying, oh, he filed under this one. And they go, where's the evidence? He didn't file under that. He didn't. So I don't know how the judge could have made such a mistake. I really don't know. And here's the thing. We don't even need to go any further than just 2 points. This one and the one where she knows she's now making the argument that the constituted authority has the authority to look at the evidence and decide whether they should move it to the election court, which is foolishness. Because all it says, the only evidence you have to provide, if you're the losing candidate in an election and you want to complain, they say within 14 days, you must file a complaint with the constituted authority. And then the only thing you need to file, affidavits. So you go and get your witnesses and they sign up affidavits. They don't want live witness testimony. They don't want videotape. They don't want audio tapes. They don't want anything except a piece of paper saying, I swear that on this day, I saw election infractions. That's it. And so what happened is that there are only 5 infractions. No, there are only 5. And let me show you the 5. Let me show you the 5. Here are the 5 right here. Here are the 5. One, the A is that you have more people who voted in an election than people who are registered to vote. So obviously there's fraud there. If you have more people voting than people on the list, that's one. Two is if you have the ballot boxes stolen, tampered, or destroyed. And by the way, that happened with the prime minister. But before he was prime minister in his first election, that actually happened.
But again, Ratty, the first letter A, sorry, number A, letter A, right? That the total number of votes cast in the constituency or electoral division exceed the number of electors. Isn't that is one of the complaints by Paul Buchanan as it relates to
because it is, yeah, in a sense, because what he's saying is that they have affidavits saying people voted twice.
Yes.
And that would go to this, I think that would go to this one here. Number 3 is where the presiding officer, where the person feels threatened to sign off on the thing, intimidate the person. 4 is where they said, people who voted, they're not bona fide electors. And my argument is that if you vote twice, the first time you're a bona fide elector, the second time you're not.
Yes.
And then the last one is where there is any violence or you have irregularity during election day. They said, and this is a term of art, which they said would lead to a substantial distortion or subversion of the process of free and fair election. All that means is that something happened that would affect the sanctity of the election, to say that this is not free and it's not fair. One of them would be if like the candidate representative is supposed to accompany the ballot boxes from the polling station to the counting station. And if the person is not there and the box is gone, how can you say the election is free and fair? The election is not free and fair. And what happened is, in this case, I think they had eight affidavits with about, I think, 16 claims, 16 infractions. And remember what the law says. The law says you only need one. Just one. Just one. And then produce 16. Somewhere around there, and produce. And the judge said, no, the constituted authority has the right to look at the circumstances and the evidence and then decide whether it meets the requirements and then should go up. And Mr. Wildman's argument is that no, all they have to do is look at the 4 corners of the document. And if you make out one of these 5, for example, if you put in an affidavit that I swear that on the such and such a date, I saw somebody voting twice, that's enough. Because guess what? The who, when, where, why, what, how, that's the province of the court. Because when it gets to the election court, they're going to have to call in witnesses now. And now you get to cross-examine these people, right? You can bring your videotapes. You can do this. That's the province of the court. That's the court's responsibility. That's not the constituted authority. Is not a court, and they acted like a court, and that's what Paul Buchanan was complaining about. He's saying no, they're not supposed to weigh the evidence, look at the evidence in terms of admissibility. No, they're not supposed to do that. The court is supposed to do that, and it's a very, very good argument. I mean, it's a straightforward case. So everyone is puzzled as to why the judge took great pains to say that to discuss the issue in terms of Paul Buchanan filing an election petition when he didn't. He didn't.
Rocky.
Yes, sir.
Paul Buchanan, right, is now pursuing the Privy Council. And of course, I think the Privy Council will be looking on procedural errors and so forth, right? Now, the thing is, how long of a process, right, that this, application will take,
right?
So how long of a process?
Well, it's my understanding that today they started drafting the submission, and today's Wednesday. I think by the end of the week they'll be finished, and then they'll submit it to the court. Now, what they're going to submit to the court is an appeal of this judge's decision.
Yes,
they're gonna appeal it. From what I've been told, they have an expedited process because of the nature of the complaint. Because here is why. Here's why it's going to be expedited, and here's why it's significant. Once the court says that this election is null and void, there is no prime minister.
Automatically.
Automatically, Jamaica has no prime minister, and they don't have an MP for what is it, West Central St. Andrew. They don't have a prime minister. They don't have an MP. And what will happen is then the ruling party will then have to come up with a name and give it to the Governor General and say, this is a person in whom we have confidence to lead the government. And by the way, the cabinet has to resign because the new president, the new prime minister is the one to identify his new cabinet and get them appointed. So if he wants everybody to stay there, then it's fine. But they have to resign, and then he can tell the Governor General, I want all of them to remain in position, and then it's fine. Then they take the oath. But they have to have a new prime minister. And that's why they're so afraid of this. Because, and you know, Mr. Wyman was on the show last night. And you know, one of the things he said, which was, I couldn't believe he said it, but he said it. He said, listen, I asked him the same question you asked me now. I said, so where do we go from here? What's next? And he said, all the way to the Privy Council. And he said, if it means I have to get the white man to render a decision in this thing, then that's what we're going to do. So,
all right. And rightly so, Ratty.
Yeah. Yeah.
But, all right, let me ask a question, right? Because how does this look as it relates to our jurisprudence? And the reason why I'm asking that question, Ratty, because you have a situation with Vibes Cartel case, right? And where, as it relates to tamper jury, and there was a precedence set as it relates to, I think it was Michael Manley versus another person. I don't remember the other person.
Gleaner.
The Gleaner,
yeah.
Right? And it is clear that there was a precedence that existed that was not followed and such breach. Now here again, right, that the Privy Council is going to deal with another case where it is clear that, number one, Paul Buchanan did not utilize an election petition act. Clearly, he didn't use it. And so then those are the cause for Privy Council, right, to rule in the in Buchanan's favor. But how does it look, right, for our jurisprudence, Ratty?
It doesn't look good, and you're absolutely correct about the Vibes Cartel case, because listen, the Privy Council didn't say Vibes Cartel was innocent. They didn't say he was guilty. All they said was you didn't follow the procedure.
Exactly.
And you violated his constitutional rights. It didn't follow the procedure. And it's the same thing here. It's again a failure to follow procedure. That's what it is. Paul Buchanan followed the procedure, but then the court is saying he didn't follow the procedure, and therefore they're going to kick his case out of court. And so he's saying, no. You can't tell me which one of these I should have filed. But what I did was I filed the most recent thing that the legislature allowed me to file, and it's the most efficient and it's the fastest. Why would I go file with the Supreme Court when I know it's going to take months, maybe even years before I get a decision? Whereas here, I know that within 60 days, within 6 months, I'm going to get a decision. Because you know what happened? I'll tell you what happened. You remember the 1997 election in West Central St. Andrew with Blake and Holness. That was December, you know, and it was finalized in June. It was finalized in June, 6 months later. This court, it's extinguished after 6 months. Its sole purpose is to deal with election issues, and it starts on the day of election, and 6 months after that, it's finished. So they're saying whatever issues you have, you need to bring them here. I mean, she made a mistake because she's holding Paul Buchanan responsible for something that the constituted authority didn't do, because the constituted authority has 28 days to file an action on behalf of someone with the election court. They didn't do it because they rejected him. And she's saying, well, that 28-day period, the period passed, and therefore you can't go to the election court, even though the election court is still in session right now. It's still in session. She got it. But you see, the thing is, I'll be honest with you, I'm struggling with, because I want to give her the benefit of the doubt. But then I say, how can I give her the benefit of the doubt when she's not a brand new lawyer, right? She has some experience, and people had confidence in her. She was given this case, and the law is there, the facts are there, and when she applied them, she just applied them incorrectly. What could cause her to do that? That's what I'm thinking. What could cause? Because obviously her decision was faulty. Decision is faulty. So the question I'm thinking is, what could cause her to write such a ridiculous opinion? What could cause her to do that?
Well, Brother Ratty, if you see the thumbnail, tonight's thumbnail, it asks who called the game.
Oh.
And what I do believe, right? I don't expect you to go as far as, where Mystic Sensation might be Brother Melting Pot will be going tonight in terms of our presumption, right? But let me say this categorically clear, right? Some things that I'm looking on. It appears as if, right? Remember, people, I want you to observe the usage of my words tonight. It appears as if, right, that might be Andrew Holness' extended arm, right, may reach in areas that affect the judiciary. And one of the reasons why I'm saying that, people, I want people to listen to me. Of all the hanky-panky that went on, right, this judge particularly utilized in terms of her justification that the constituted authority, right, did have 28 days to file an action, where you can't blame Paul Buchanan for that. Paul Buchanan cannot be blamed for that. When it comes to the 14 days, right, statutory timeline, Paul Buchanan met that, right? So then for her to be using this, it seems like to me is a deliberate action of, I don't see where I could say that the judge make a mistake in this, Brother Ratty and Melting Pot, right? Because the laws, right, are precisely, right, inscribed. All what needs to be done was for her, Ratty, to follow the law.
Yeah, but apart from the time factor, she went to great lengths
Yes.
to quote the section of the law that would have let her rule in favor of Mr. Buchanan, but yet she did contrary to that.
Exactly.
So that speaks volume.
That, right, I'm not going to say, Ratty, that she made an error. I think that this is a deliberate action, you understand, on the judge ruling, right? What could have influenced that? I don't know. Because this is a walkover of the Privy Council. When this reaches the Privy Council, you understand, is just going to maybe just look on it one time and fling it out. When Mr. Fling it out, I mean rule, right, accordingly. Right? This is a no-brainer. And then for the judge to understand the law very well. As a matter of fact, go as length and quote sections and then rule contrary to the section that she quote. Doesn't make any sense to me. But let me just eat back and bring in Melting Pot. You understand that Melting Pot can just make a comment on this. Melting Pot.
Yes, my brother. This case of conspiracy theory written all over it from day one. From the first time Paul Buchanan filed his complaint to the constituted authority and they reject it right there and then. I remember people, Mr. Paul Buchanan used the 1944 People's Act, yeah, to outline the various appearances that took place on election day, September the 3rd. And and the People's Act only prescribe one reason for it to have a rerun of an election. Just one reason of corruption. Yeah, but there were several on the day. Several. And so where the constituted authority, act like a court, they were in breach right there and then.
Exactly.
They don't have that privilege or that power.
Exactly.
You understand? It's an independent body that the government put out there to act in that capacity with a few lawyers sitting on the board. You understand? But they don't have the power in that regard.
Yeah.
So right there and then it shows you that there is conspiracy written all over this thing. You understand? People working on behalf of certain affiliated people with, great influence in society. And so for them to just dismiss Paul Buchanan application was wrong. For the constituted authority not to exercise its 28 days grace period, there was also a breach as well. And the fact of the matter that when Mr. Paul Buchanan took his complaint to the Supreme Court, filing an injunction against the constituted authority, what we see happen is that the Supreme Court ruled in favor of the constituted authority. And it's plain and obvious that the constituted authority committed a breach.
Exactly.
Now, the fact of the matter that, Mr. Buchanan and his lawyer filed well within the prescribed time of 14 days that they have. I think they filed on the 9th day. So that would give a 5-day window. It must get to the court before that 5-day window elapses. It probably take 2 or 3 days out of it, mail delivery. It must get to them before the deadline date. So when the lawyer, Sonia Winplayer, come and use the term statute of limitation and said that caused it to be a knockout blow for the case. Says she, being compromised. Yeah.
Seriously compromised.
Seriously compromised. Yeah. And I mean, it looked like people manipulate her too as well. You understand? Because we like to talk the thing as how we see it present itself. Yeah. Because there is no way she could have just dismissed the case like that. Yeah, without giving tangible reason. Yeah. Because if you come and tell about statute of limitation, that's not a reason. Because it was filed well within the time.
Yes.
And I mean, all she have to look at is what is in front of her as it relates to the law. But she even breached the law that is there in front of her.
Crazy.
And so, when you see people working like that, corruption, is in place. Because this is how Jamaica has been run and operated by the Labour Party regime led by Andrew Holness. Yeah, this guy thinks that he's so powerful that nobody can, go beyond his means. Whatever he requires, he has to get it. So this is what is happening. And a lot of people are going to have some serious question to answer. Yeah? This judge in particular, based on what she has done, in my estimation, she should be struck off the bar. Yeah? She should be. And I mean, the jurisprudence, come on. They make a mockery of this as well. Yeah? know them don't want this Panam record, so them have to try and do something about it. You understand? So the fact of the matter now that this case is now on its way to the Privy Council, it's a 1-2. Whoever lasts as long as cartel. It's a 1-2 thing. Cut and dry. Open and close. You understand? Open and close. Because in the affidavits, yeah, that we know about, yeah, as it relates to what was submitted to the constituted authority. So many things was there. As I said to Brother Byron, the amount that was there, they couldn't rub out all of them. They must leave one. And one alone constitute this, where we are talking about a rerun of the seat. You understand? And them couldn't rub out all because, I mean, it's about 17 to 18, I think, I come across. Yeah. And I mean, there are video footage to back up that as well. As Brother Rattigan said, they don't ask for those things in the first place. They just ask for a written statement in the affidavit. Yeah? With, people go and, yeah, attest to that. And then they might ask for other things that they need to support what you are saying. And people have that in abundantly. So under no circumstance, this case should have just been watered down like this. And even terms like knockout blow. But this judge will go with knockout blow. If anything, she will get a knockout blow in the long run. Because she show her true colors, in my estimation. And I mean, the constituted authority, they show that they are not independent. They show that they are partisan. You understand? Because when you have a case that is so blatant, come in front of you and use all various mechanisms to get it thrown out, it's shown that these people are working primarily on behalf of the ruling government. Now that is a big problem in any society, because that shows that there is no justice. Yeah? And so when you have a society that is, based upon lack of justice or injustice, then it's a cause for concern. And in the case of this regime, there is too much of these type of cases being brought against them. It shows that they are riddled with corruption. You understand? And everybody who Andrew assembled around him and his party are being paid to do unprofessional work. And I think these people must pay dearly for their blatant mistake. You understand? Blatantly lying, using all various mechanisms at their disposal to just keep a corrupted man in office. We find that to be, against the Constitution. It's against democracy as well. And it's against principle. So these people must be held accountable and must face the full wrath of the law. I said, this judge here, Sonia Winplayer, they must chuck her off the bar. You understand? She's a disgrace, in my estimation. Because if you are given, a case like this in the Supreme Court, to me, it is telling me that you are a top judge. Okay? They wouldn't give it to a little, ordinary person who just come out of the business. It tells me that this individual have a certain wealth of experience. But I didn't see the experience come to the fore. What I see is a person acting shady and, with no discretion for the law or even our profession. Why would you allow people to come and corrupt you in such a manner where you are bypassing what is inscribed in the law just to give some people some leeway in life? No. So I know when it comes to the Privy Council, it's a 1-2 mission this. Yeah? And heads are going to roll and people have to lose them job and people have to step down. Because it's cut and dry now. There's no two ways about it. It's a cut and dry case. Alright? Now when you look at what is being said, in regard to the Election Petition Act. Mr. Buchanan didn't use that. He didn't use the Election Petition Act, you know. The man sent an affidavit, yeah, to the constituted authority, pointing out all the variances that took place within that constituency and why, you know, he thinks he has a justification, yeah, to file such a claim. Constituted authority, you examine it, you send it to the election court. That's your job. You can't try the case. You can't do nothing to it. You send it to the election court. Yeah? Had that been done, had that been done, the Buchanan wouldn't have to go to the Supreme Court.
True.
The election court would have deal with it. Yeah? Quickly to resolve the matter.
Exactly.
So when you see them bypass the election court, you know, say them throw it out. Them not give him a fair hearing or nothing. Them not support him case, nothing, because these people are greener than morass. But we're having a Jamaica, some top, you know, civil servant from civil society, them greener than morass. And them a bring down the country just to please Andrew Holness and the Labour Party. Because, you know, the capitalist mentality now when take over Jamaica, it is wrong. Very wrong. But we have more, you know, in the pipeline, but we have to just keep it there for the time being until further development within the same case. So, without any further ado, hand back the floor to you, Sir Byron.
Blessings, blessings, blessings. Brother Ratty, I want to ask you a few questions. Right? I don't want to be a troublemaker tonight, you know, but I just have to ask you these questions. Based on what is evidently clear as it relates to the laws that govern, right, the conduct of general election and the breaches, right? Now, do you believe, I'm just asking you for your opinion, do you believe that the judge, let me use the word, you know, ignorantly to say, you know, to define it, ignorantly misinterpreted the laws? Or do you believe that the action of the judge was deliberate and so doing put the judiciary in disrepute? What is your take on the matter?
Yeah, you know, did she put it in disrepute, or did she misinterpret the law? Well, it's kind of hard to say she misinterpreted it, you know. I don't think she misinterpreted it, because it's clear she mentioned both laws, you know. It's not as if she didn't even know about one. And if she didn't know about one, shame on the judge. You're supposed to know. You have a staff and can do the research, and that's why you write an opinion, right?
Yes.
So she can't say she didn't know about it, because she actually quoted. She quoted from the Representation of People Act. She quoted from it. So the question now is, based on her action, is the judiciary in disrepute? Well, I would say she's adding disrepute, because it's under disrepute already. Because if you go back and look at the Vibes Cartel case and many other cases of people, and in fact, we shouldn't forget that the former DPP, Paula Llewellyn, she said, her own words, she said that she's worked with tainted jury many, many times over. She said that. This is not the first time they do this, Judge. I do them things a long time. So, yeah. No, that kind of give a sense of where the judiciary is. And it's a shame, because you know why? I think the judiciary was the last bastion of hope for the Jamaican people. Because remember, Jamaica, the government has three parts to it, right? It has the legislature.
Yes.
They make the law, that's parliament. You have the executive, the prime minister, and the
Prime
ministries and
Minister.
all them. And then you have the judiciary.
Judiciary.
So we
Yes.
don't know that the executive and the judiciary and the legislative, we have two parts of the three-part government sleeping, well, we're thinking of one bed, and under the same roof, right? We have that. Think about it, people. Just think about it. There's supposed to be something called separation of powers that is embedded in the Constitution. That they say we have three parts of the government and there's a separation. Well, how can you claim that there's a separation of power when you have the man who are run the country, his wife running the parliament, and them sleep on the same? So people actually give up on them two branches there. People are looking to the judiciary now for justice. They must say, okay, this is the only place we can get some justice. And look at what's happening. No, look at what's happening. No. Look at what is happening, because we shouldn't think that this is the first time they make a decision like this. It's just that this is the latest decision. But they've been making decisions like this. And while you don't want to cast aspersions on them, it's difficult not to, because it's not one judge doing this, It's several judges doing it. It's not, if it was one judge, you could have said, well, that's a bad judge, but the judiciary is fine. But you see all of these decisions being rendered, and it's just different judges. And by the way, the organization that's responsible for disciplining attorneys, them not different neither, Them not different. Them not different. The disciplinary, I think it's when him, Mr. Champagne, I think him run the disciplinary arm of the I don't remember the name of the organization now, where them police attorneys, right? That organization is a joke. It's a joke. So Byron, we're in for a rough ride right now, Sorry, we're in for a rougher ride, because it's been rough. We're in for a rougher ride. So, well, brethren, Melting Pot made a good point on him. Say, watch out, we need to really look into this, Georgia. See if we can the Judicial Commission. People, if you can write to the Judicial Commission and explain your dissatisfaction with this judgment. I certainly am going to write to them and let them know that, listen, this decision does not comport with the facts and the law. This judge should go along. Shall make it up. I mean, think about it. Just think about it. Think about it for a second, people. Put all the biases we have aside. Just think about it. A judge is going to render an opinion on something that didn't happen.
It's crazy. It's
an opinion.
The man simply did not use an election petition act. Right? It is plain and simple. So it's crazy.
That is correct. The man did not. So if you read the opinion, she spent a great deal of time to talk about election petition. And I was reading it and I said, wait a minute. If you file an election petition, you can only file an election petition with the Supreme Court, people. You can't file it with the constituted authority. It's a different type of action. So when I was reading it and I saw we should talk about election petition, and I said, wait a minute. I read the submissions that Paul Buchanan made to the court, to the constituted authority, and I said, this wasn't an election petition, because an election petition, it comes under a different regime. You have to put up a bond, so to speak. You have to do this, you have to do that, and you have to file it with the Supreme Court. And again, remember, people, you file that action, when you file with the constituted authority, you don't get to file that with the court. The other one, you file it with the court. You yourself, you file it with the court. The other one is a constituted authority have to file it on your behalf. So you go to them and say, here are my affidavits evidencing that there were voter irregularities or voting irregularities. And they look at the four corners of the document, they say, fine, and then they just file it for you with the election court. And that's it. That's it. Simple 1, 2, 3. Like you, Wildman, said, this is basic administrative law. This is basic, people. Basic. So yes, Yes, she has cast a cloud. Oh no, she has cast another cloud
Yes.
over the judiciary in Jamaica. People in Jamaica, believe me, and if you believe a lie, me I tell, what I need for though, just do one thing for me. Just do one thing for me. Looking at the jails and tell me if you see anybody from half or three or go up, if you see any of them in another prison. Just do that for me.
Yes.
Just tell me if you see any of the big name people, you know, if you see any of them in a prison. Just tell me. Tell me if you see any senators or any parliamentarians in a prison. Even though we have criminals in the parliament. And when we say criminals, we talk about people who commit crimes while they're in parliament. We're not talking about people who commit crimes before they came into parliament. Talk about people who commit crimes while in parliament. And guess what? There's one of them that's still in parliament. Marissa Dalrymple Philibert.
All right.
She pled guilty.
Okay. All right. Okay, so put me up on a big screen, Leonie. And I am, Brother Ratty, I'm glad that you and Melting Pot here tonight in terms of where we are going to go with our next subject matter. Now, the other day on Mystic Sensation, I spoke about $3 trillion crisis. And Big Mama, of course, right, wanted to answer us as it relates to $3 trillion, right? And want to say that, okay, all right, there's nothing missing. We are spreading propaganda. We are spreading lies. But I'm going to bring Big Mama to task tonight. I'm going to bring Big Mama and Andras Davis to task tonight. But first, I am going to have my ardent listeners, right, listen to this clip. Right? And the questions that Big Mama supposed to ask is not asking these questions. Tonight, I would like, when I finish, right, Big Mama ask the questions that I am going to recommend him to ask. So listen to these people.
In Jamaica, last year this time, Jamp made a mistake. And the mistake is that we were naive in not understanding. I think I would say the environment at the time. I genuinely didn't understand that this would have become what I think was a political football, where persons did abuse another word, which is missing. And missing unaccounted for don't mean missing. It means that when somebody submits a financial report, you might come to the conclusion after you get the report, if you're not satisfied, you might say, and you might not say, that money is missing. But the word unaccounted for, Cliff, does not mean missing. I want to put on the record that the very front page report the very next day, December the 4th, so it's almost exactly a year, the article on the front page, I am so happy that the reporter actually said, and Jeanette Calder indicated that she's not saying, Jamp is not saying, it is missing. The third thing I want to say to your listeners and yourself is, the very cabinet, post-cabinet press briefing that raised it, and I can provide you with a date if you need it, the Minister of Finance indicated that Jeanette Calder of Jamp had indicated from day one that it does not mean that it is not missing. So for 12 months, Cliff, our credibility has been called into question. Persons who listen to the program all the time and certainly to the interview on the 10th of November have come back out to accuse Jamp. And I just thought it would be fair, not just looking in the past, but looking forward and investing in information that may or may not come out, that if the Auditor General should say that there is something for which no one has given account for or it is unaccounted for, to let them know that it does not mean that it is missing.
Okay. My Jamaican people, you know, let me first, you know, give respect to Janet Calder. Jeanette Calder, right? Because I respect her as it relates to, right, her profession and so forth. But I beg to differ in terms of her definition as it relates to unaccounted for. So I'm going to show Jamaican people what unaccounted for mean before I get into the deck of things. Let us share the screen to the people and show them what unaccounted for mean. So this is the AI review, right, from Google. Unaccounted for describes people or things that are missing, lost, or whose whereabouts, status are unknown without explanation, often after a disaster, crime, or accounting discrepancy, meaning their absence can't be explained or tallied. In this, we're talking about accounting discrepancy. Take this away on it. So, Madam Calder, right? You know, as I said, I have a lot of respect, right, for you. But I don't know what you are defining, right, unaccounted for. To me, right? So any dictionary that you use, you are going to have unaccounted for defined as missing. Missing. But Ms. Calder, George Davis, and Big Mama, let me get into the detail of the investigation now. And I am going to show Ms. Calder. I am going to show Big Mama. I am going to show George Davis that when we say $3 trillion unaccounted for, we mean that. $3 trillion missing. Now, let us get into the investigation. I am going to show you what how Fayeval responded, right, to the so-called $3 trillion that been missing. She said that the money has not been missing. What happened is the appropriation account for the various ministries have not been tendered so that you can look at them, right, and you can give account, right? Now, Ratty, melting pot, look at this. Finance Ministry working to get ministries up to date in submitting appropriation accounts. Now, watch this. Ministry of Finance and the Public Service, Honorable Fayeval Williams, says the ministry is committed to putting additional resources in place to ensure timely submission of appropriation accounts to the Auditor General. She was addressing Wednesday, December 11 post-cabinet press briefing at Jamaica House in response to a recent report that government funds totaling $3 trillion have been unaccounted for or missing. Let me put that in there. For across 16 government entities over a 6 to 11 year period. You know. More to understand this in the people. She was addressing Wednesday, December 11, post-cabinet press briefing at Jamaica House in response to a recent report that government funds totaling $3 trillion have been unaccounted for across 16 government entities over a 6 to 11 year period. She is saying that the money has not been missing, right? The appropriation accounts that are not being submitted, that have not been submitted, can now give an account for the $3 trillion. People want to follow me tonight, you know. Want the accountant them follow me tonight. Take away that. My people, let me show you what an appropriate account does. Let us show John public what an appropriation account does. I want people to follow me tonight, you know. And I want particularly, I wouldn't mind if Janet Calder is following me tonight. Now, look at this, people. Appropriation account, explain, definition, process, and examples. Let us go. Appropriation is the act of setting aside money for a specific purpose. In accounting, it refers to a breakdown of how a firm profits are divided up, or for the government, an account that shows the funds a government department has been credited with. A company or a government appropriates funds in order to allocate cash for the necessities of its business operation. Watch this now. Here's some bulletin points, key takeaways. An appropriation account detail, listen people, detail the allocation of a firm's profit to shareholders and reserve funds. Partnership and LLCs prepare appropriation accounts as an extension of the profit and loss statement. Now, bulletin point number 3, government appropriation accounts allocate funds to agencies from estimated tax revenues and can be adjusted as needed. Bulletin point number 4, which is extremely important, monitoring the cash flow statement of public companies reveal how the appropriate funds to meet obligation and expenses. Take that away. In general, accounting appropriation accounts are mainly prepared by Partnership Unlimited. Take that away. Let us get to the other document with my phone. Right? Now, let us get to this, Brother Rattigan. And a melting pot. Right? Where's the next document? All right. I am going to ask a question here. And I wouldn't mind that Janet Calder, right? I would like to ask her some questions on the Auditor General. Let me give it in layman terms. The appropriation account that Fayeval Williams spoke about, in layman terms, it records details of government expenditures and recorded all transactions. Now, question that I'm going to ask Josh Davis, question that I'm going to ask the Auditor General, question I'm going to ask Janet Calder. Miss Calder, Josh Davis, Big Mama, and the Auditor General, what is the status as it relates to the $3 trillion, right, today, as it relates to the appropriation account that you would have gotten? You have not gotten the appropriation account, right, for 11 years. You are saying, Fayeval Williams is saying that the monies are not missing. The appropriation account can explain it. I am asking you today to tell me if the appropriation account, right, that you have updated now to the various ministries, what amount of variances have been reduced from the $3 trillion that be missing? Can Fayeval Williams come to the public and say, okay, they are saying that $3 trillion have not been missing, have been missing. We are saying that $3 trillion have not been missing. Here is the appropriation account that justify that, okay, all right, we accounted for these monies that so-called missing. Give us the status today. Let me ask the Auditor General, what is the status today as it relates to the last time when you reported that $3 trillion, right, unaccounted for? Let me use your term. Let me use your terminology. What is the status today to the fact that, and you know what, let me ask a question. I'm asking the question. And Big Mama, I need you to ask this question. Ask Favor Williams if all the ministries are updated with their appropriation account report. And if they are updated with their appropriation account that's supposed to be submitted on a yearly basis, right? To the fact that that being updated, right? What are the variances being discovered? The missing amount from the $3 trillion. What amount of that was recovered? Come out and speak to the appropriation account, Cliff Hughes. What we want you to do is to speak to the correction of the appropriation account, not come call Janet Calder and ask Janet Calder to justify, you understand, whether or not, right, unaccounted for mean missing. No. Right? If you're talking about checks and balance, these are the questions that you need to ask, Big Mama. Talk about the appropriation account. And ask, right, as it relates to the ministries now having their appropriation account, if they have their appropriation account, right, what are the reduction of the variances and what been missing? What found as a result of the appropriation account, right? And what outstanding? Jamaica need to know that. And if Favor Williams, right, who turned to Fenke in a parliament today, cannot come out, let me say this to Favor Williams. This is what Jamaica wants from you, Favor Williams. If you cannot come out and give us an updated report of the appropriation account and the variances, you understand, as it relates to $3 trillion, what amount of that the appropriation report would have found? And what being reduced and what is the current, right, amount that you still cannot find? So then, what we would like the Auditor General give us an update today as it relates to the last time that the $3 trillion unaccounted for, and as according to Favor that the appropriation account, the money have not been missing. You understand, is that ministries were late to submit their appropriation account, and well, that those appropriation account must be submitted now. Now, Favor Williams need to come out and tell us, and the opposition need to ask Favor, right? If Favor can update us, I want the opposition to listen to what I'm saying. I want the opposition ask Favor, as it relates to the $3 trillion being unaccounted for, missing. You understand? Mystic Sensation is saying that all sort of hanky-panky, nepotism, cronyism, and trickery that used as it relates to the procurement processes, you understand, that involved with that. We see rural read and so forth. You understand, which is a part of that. Missing, stolen. So then I am saying, to defend yourself, Jamaica Labour Party administration, come out, tell us about the appropriation account, right? And tell us about the current variances and what that report had found. And so then you don't leave it out there, you understand, and want to try to justify yourself, young Big Mama. You understand? Justify that there's no money missing and you leave it out there. People, we are not stupid. Tell us, give us the update as it relates to the appropriation report. Now, let me go to Brother Rattigan. Brother Rattigan, we are talking about the appropriation account that could be able to tell us what transpires as it relates to $3 trillion, right? Do you think that it is justified, right, as it relates to the accusation that $3 trillion missing? that the government now, you understand, should come out in the clear and said mystics to say to the public, no, $3 trillion not missing. As a result of our appropriation account, right, found these variances, right, as it relates to the $3 trillion. What say you as it relates to the input of that? What do you think should be done?
Well, going back to your definition, well, not your definition, the definition in AI, and I believe I saw that definition somewhere else. It says unaccounted means missing, lost, whereabouts unknown, without explanation. You notice what I didn't say? Didn't say stolen.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't say stolen, right? So when you hear that 3 trillion missing, I would have loved to hear 3 trillion missing or stolen. You know, I would have like to, because here is why I say that, and I'll get to the question about the appropriations account. I'm just doing a quick memory check here about some of the things that have gone missing, but they're not. It's not missing. Stolen. In 2017, there was a school. We're talking about the rural school bus program of 2025. There was one in 2017, $200 million. That's $200 million 2017 dollars, not $200 million 2025 dollars, right? The dollar had more value back in 2017 than it does now, and nobody is asking about that. So the question I have to ask the government is that money missing or stolen? Is it lost? We don't. Is it a case where whereabouts unknown without an explanation? We don't know. The Minister of Education, again, 124 million. Dean Roy Bernard, Grace McLean, Royal Reid. Or Dean Roy Bernard and Grace McLean. That money is not coming back because we know that money went to some a group called the Jamaica Tertiary Commission, something like that. That money is not coming back. That money is gone. And we know that when the Auditor General went to them and asked them for invoices, on they said, we don't have to give you anything because we're a private company, even though it started out as an advisory body to the Minister of Education. And what they did was they registered it as a private company. And then money started funneling to them from the ministry. So is that money, I don't know, how do you classify those funds? The drill. How do you classify a $25,000 drill? You're paying 200,000 US dollars we're talking about, right? That's what, 175,000 US dollars. Is that missing? Is that lost? Is that stolen? Because we know where the money went, but it's not coming back to the coffers. It's not benefiting the Jamaican public. And here's the big one. How about the school bus? The one this year, 1.4. How about that one, where we were told that we're going to get 110 school buses by the end of July of 2025. And here we are, December, and we don't have 110 school buses in Jamaica. And the question I ask all the time is, so we don't have the buses, where's the money? Where's the money? He said that the cabinet approved, the cabinet and the procurement commission, that they approved the purchase of 110 school buses for 1.4 billion, and yet we don't have the buses, we don't have the money. So getting to the appropriations now, the appropriations to me, before you can start saying, well, then, we do appropriations account here, and like you said, it is for a specific purpose. It's the granting of funds for a specific purpose. But what about all that missing money. I mean, what do we do with that? Do we is that accounted for in any budget? The 3 trillion, is that accounted for in any budget? So I don't know how you can go forward with an appropriations when you have so much money missing unaccounted for, and then you convey to the public that you're doing what's in its best interest. I don't understand it. Maybe you and Lady Anne Marie and Milton Pot can make me understand, but I don't understand it, sir. And that's where I leave it.
All right. Well, Ratty, what the appropriation account does, it record all expenditures, right, of the government, right? And when in terms of that tabulation, right, one can use it, because I use it right at my workplace in several times in terms of tracking items, right? So if we said for argument's sake, let me just give you a quick example. Said for argument's sake, we receive, right, 2 trucks of cement, just for argument's sake, right? Now, based on how our thing set up, from once the manufacturer plug that in, it automatically read into our system. It doesn't mean that the items delivered in. From once we make the order, right, and the order plug in, right, it read into our system. Now, when we are doing our audit, right, we might say, okay, all right, we have 2 trucks of cement. The fact of the matter, it is not being delivered as yet. It has not been received. It is en route. So what we have to do now physically is to go into the system and zero that product, right? So when we zero that product, when now we get the delivery, because since it's automatically plugged into the system, when we physically zero that out, when it come now and we receive it, you understand, then now we physically receive it. You understand? So all of that all of that transaction, you understand, is going to be explained within the appropriation account. Right? So then the appropriation account is what you normally use, and you understand, the track expenditures and all of that. And that is why Favor Williams is saying that, right, these monies are not missing, right? The appropriation accounts have not yet been submitted. That is the reason why she's saying that, you know. So I am saying now, from the time that she said that the appropriation account, you understand, not being submitted, are they submitted now? That is what I'm asking. Are those appropriation accounts being submitted now? One, and what sort of the variance that we have as it relates to $3 trillion? The appropriation account, have it corrected or reduced those variance? So if there was $3 trillion reported, now that the appropriation account being submitted to the various ministries can look into it and track it and say, okay, all right. You said the Ministry of Education missed $15 million was outstanding. Okay, here it is, as it relates to what being explained, right, into the appropriation account. And we give account for that, right? And then you reduce that. But what if there are other items, you understand, that you said missing, but the appropriation account, you understand, cannot, you understand, verify it? Then you have a problem, right? Because it definitely missing. If you understand where I'm going with that.
Yeah, but here's the issue I have. There's the issue I have with them saying that with the appropriations account. Some of the things I've been told that some of the missing expenditures.
Yes.
That they have submitted invoices for them. Some of them, not all of them. Some of them.
Yes.
No, I question those invoices. You know, I just have I just don't trust these people. There's a serious trust deficiency between me and them people. I don't trust them. And then the other thing is, like the Dean Roy Bernard and Grace McLean scandal. Now, how do you account for that with appropriations? Because it wasn't to purchase The money didn't purchase widgets, it didn't purchase cement, it didn't purchase anything. So how they account for that? And in fact, they didn't even want to give them any invoices. They didn't. The auditor general specifically asked them and said, "Give it to me," and they said, "No, no." What they should have done, by now is, and I think that's where you're going is to say, okay, for 3 trillion that's missing and unaccounted, we can't explain. We can now explain for 1 trillion. So we
Exactly.
2 trillion outstanding.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
Exactly.
But they're not gonna come to you with that.
And that is what we are. That's what we are. That is what. But Ratty, to be honest, you don't. All right. It is the owners and the government as it relates to that outstanding amount being missing to come and give us an update. What do you think, Ratty?
I agree with you. They should give an update, but they won't, because that money, we know how that we know. All right, let's not think in terms of absolutes to say that the entire 3 trillion them thief it. Let's not think in terms of absolute, but you can think in terms of reasonableness and say, based on the track record, based on the fact that they haven't provided this update, it's reasonable to assume that some of this money was stolen. The question now is how much, and we believe it's a lot. We believe it's a lot, and we might even say most of it, because they can't account for it. They can't account for it. And if they can't account for it, then what you do if they can't account for it? You just say, well, you just write it off like that and just move on. And I'm glad you're bringing up this subject. I'm extremely ecstatic. You know why? Because of the tendency to attach 9-day wonders to some of these subject matters. Because how many people talking about this 3 trillion? How many people talking about it?
Exactly.
And then the thing is, what I like about this discussion is that you're not raising it to say, well, last year a report came out as 3 trillion. You're saying, okay, fine, that was then. This is now. Where is the update?
Exactly.
Where is the update?
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Where's the update? Give
So
us an update.
I look.
All right.
Masterful stroke.
Exactly. Thank you. Thank you for that, Brother Ratty. Let us begin. Melting Pot in the place. Melting Pot, what say you on this?
Well, my take on it, Sir Byron and Mr. Rattigan. The accusation of the $3 trillion being missing is very, very valid. I have to, use that terms, because the fact of the matter that there cannot be any presentation of document suggesting otherwise, then you know the accusation of the $3 trillion being missing is valid. Simple reason, these 16 government entities, they must have an accountant, each of them. That accountant role and responsibility is to make all the accountants available for the auditor general. So they must be compiled and submitted to the auditor general as it relates to appropriation of funds. That account must be submitted. So I can understand, to the love of God, why entities are being allowed not to submit any documentation of appropriation of funds for over a 6 to 11 year period. That tell you that something, is happening. Something of unforeseen circumstance is happening. Something that you would never, in the wildest dream, believe would be taking place in these 16 entities. It's not rocket science. If I'm being tasked to do a job and I'm being paid to do a job, I must have somebody over me who supervises me, who makes sure I do that job and do it well. So the fact of the matter that none of these 16 government entities has been submitting what they should submit to the Auditor General. Yeah? It tells you what they are going on with. Act of criminality. And I mean, we know about the Royal Reed, and we know about the guy from InSport. Yeah? And I mean, we know about various other activities like the 1.4 billion and some more money, like the drill and all these things. I remember even the drill, it never got through no procurement guideline. The 1.4 billion, the old bus them, that never got through no procurement guideline. So these are the basis of how these people operate as it relates to, government funding, taxpayers' money. Them just use it and utilize it any way, shape, or form because there is no accountability. Yeah. So when Janet Calder saying that the accounted funds not necessarily mean that it is not, it is missing. It is missing. It cannot be accounted for. We can use it, we can apply all different words of mechanism as it relates to we can't find the money. So we can't come up with any perception what happened to this money. Is it lost? Is it stolen? Is it borrowed? All these things because it's not there. So we cannot say otherwise, We have to state the obvious. It missing, it gone. Yeah. But as Sir Rattigan rightfully said, Sir Byron, you did not shape the narrative as to say, well, then them steal the money.
Yes.
But me, melting pot, my style. Me, I go to them thief the money. Me never say steal. Steal is too much of a superlative word. You understand? Them thief the money. That's why them never do no accountancy. You're not set in stone in terms of submitting any form of documents to the Auditor General. Yeah? And I mean, this thing continue like that. And we see other places where it happened to, Yeah, down at the west, there were Keisha back then. And the same thing that are going down there. And the same thing are going down there. And I like so well in something where, it's not the norm. It's the norm. When you have something that run for an 11-year period, then it tell you, say, normalize. That's how them operate. You can't think otherwise. You say, well, oh, no, it's just a 16 government entities. It tell you that's a normalization of what they are doing. That's
Exactly.
why you have this vast amount of money, $3 trillion. This is not small money. Yes, Sir Byron. It's not a small money, because a 16 government entity that has failed in its appropriation account. Yeah? Nothing been done. But yet still people that are collect taxpayers' money. Yeah? Civil servant from civil society, they are collect taxpayers' money. And then you have a garbage like Andrew Wallace come out and tell us that the country not running well. Simple because we choose to have an underpaid electorate. You know, she said, the whole thing is a shamble, man. The whole thing is a shamble, The whole thing is a shamble. And me, I tell you, say, me, have the power and the authority. We lock up the majority of who are working at Jamaica at a top official office. Yeah? I carry them in. No ways about it. Me I carry them in. Because these people, for a long time, has taken the taxpayers' money for granted. They have also paid scant regard to the position that they hold in their office. Yeah? They have been getting away with daylight robbery. Daylight robbery, them I get away with. And because the justice system, is failing in many regards, we are not seeing any conviction. Just recently, we see the guy from InSport, where them say, responsible for 22 million, them give him 10 years and 7 months. Oh, these type of sentencing should be handed out long before now. And several people in Jamaica are supposed to be behind bars. Several people, and them supposed to be behind bars for various amount of money when they move. And when you charge them and you sentence them, you're supposed to go seize them asset and auction it and put back the money in the taxpayers' funds. You understand? So a whole heap of joke business are going on at Jamaica. You know? Jamaica come like a dolly house. Dolly house. The Prime Minister is a shamble. You understand? The Minister of National Security, them a shamble. Because the Prime Minister is supposed to preside over all of them entities here, you know. And him are the chief civil servant. You must get report from whichever funds you make where you allocate for all the entities them. You must collect back some data. You understand? Because if the Prime Minister now is talking about procurement and the relief funds and package will come in, then you know should I deal with procurement for all of them government agency at the 16? And a long time you hear say them place a problem. So the fact of the matter, when this was raised, yeah, and it was out there, everybody are ripping to it. We give them a lot of time, but them can't come back and tell you nothing. So well, then them fine, or them trace was part 1 trillion was spent. Until we say, yeah, until we say, well, 2 trillion still outstanding. You see how long, and them can't come back with nothing like that.
That's it.
Where them come with some garbage, you know. And Flavor will come tell about the ministry I go strengthen. Strengthen what kind of more money I spend to strengthen so it's so what it never equip with the amount of people for work already. What kind of more finance you go put towards them to strengthen them? Them never weak in the first place. I just be a thief and criminal at work there. And because the head of the stream dirty, the tributaries them become filthy as well. This is why we do not like when the Prime Minister is under investigation for illicit enrichment. When him cannot be certified from 1998 people. It is cause for concern. You understand? So there is no circumstantial evidence where a guy can come tell me, say right now, yeah, them people are not thief the money. That's why them can't come up with no documents to prove otherwise. That's why them talk about them are going to strengthen. We are strengthening something in place as important as government entities, yeah, where is in charge for running government business. And you have it weak from the first place. What kind of strengthening it want now? That is just a mouthpiece lyrics they come with, a wax lyrics like you're somebody good. Favor you're weak and pathetic, and you're not even capable for the job. The government is weak and pathetic and not capable of running the country. The whole of them are some bunch of criminal, white-collar criminal they are. This is why they normalize these type of behavior. How often we hear this corruption in Jamaica? It's not like one off. It's regular. It's rampant. So you know the way the country is being run and operated and orchestrated. And we know who do that. Yeah? Because the chief civil servant, you know, he must know what is going on in the country. That's why you get the title chief civil servant. You're above all. Yeah? And the fact of the matter, you see the guy draw so much government agency and them umbrella. Them itch up underneath him arm in his office. It tell you something. Him know everything where I go on. He knows. You understand? But does he do anything about it? No. Because monkey see, monkey do. You understand? If them come see him do that, them are going to do it. There's no getting away from that sentiment. They are going to follow suit. So everybody knows that the leader do it, and them no can do it. They will do it. And they did it. So when them come now and I try to fabricate the story now and like so well then, oh, it doesn't mean unaccounted funds. Yeah, not actually mean that it is missing. Then what happen? Then oh, you don't have it in front of you. If it not means say it missing, you should have it in front of you. Whether fiscal cash or document supporting the fact that it got there so. But we never do not like that. Because me say them normalize high level of corruption and criminality. This is why the country now grow. This is why the country fall down flat, drop in a recession, and then dip in a depression. You understand? This is why everybody had to lie to make the government look good, to give them political mileage, but them can't get none of that. This is why we have the guy named Wayne Henry from PIOJ a fabricate all the numbers them. Because them a get them little butter rub on them mouth. Them a get them butter, man. So them have to fix up things, you know. Them have to come tell us that the economy grow 4%. That are the finance minister said that. And 2 garbage behind her as a 4.9 a whisper. Because none of them not sure. Because it's a lie, them a tell. So some of them get it and not get it right. You understand? Because if something was correct, everybody would have known said grow by 1% or 2%. You now hear favor that said grow by 4. Then you hear athlete foot and Terry Long tongue behind her. Last week I said 4.9. How can our economy, yeah, we drop flat on its face? The country now no manufacturing sector. Yeah. That third quarter coincide with the general election where we see everybody walk up and down and collect money and run and do all type of thing. But your economy grow more than a first world economy. Because not even the UK economy grow like that, you know. The UK economy now attain 4%, much less 4.9. We know United States don't have that number. Canada don't have it as well. And many more countries, not even China. So, we don't know what them come and tell we say. So we know a BLI we get. Everything that come from this administration is lie. That's why them have a ocean net wide now work radio station. Yeah? With a mouthpiece guy like Nancy Big Mama, Draws Davis and the whole entourage. And you see all straight edge and the whole of them a follow suit. Because them sponsors by the sponsors. You understand? And them become censored to the sponsors. So them have to do them thing to please the government. So we are called upon, you know, some people in authority. Yeah, because Big Mama mouthpiece station him to lose them license. We are called upon Cardell Green. Yeah, the man in charge. Yeah, of the broadcasting corporation. Take away Big Mama license. Take it away. And move some of that journalists where come and tell lie for this government. Yeah? And police don't need to go arrest the guy when he Wayne Henry. Him need to be charged for perjury. Him lie. The man come and tell us unemployment down. Poverty down. When a country in a depression, that can't happen. So we have to look on them people here as people we farm the ring of corruption we are destroyed Jamaica. And we have to do something about them, you know. Soon or very late, we have to do something about these people. Because these people are hell-bent on enriching themselves. They are the minority and leave the majority to live in a poverty way for the rest of them life. This can't happen. It shouldn't happen. And so we are calling on the Jamaican people now to rally around the cause. The cause that will afford you a better way of life. And what that is, rally around the cause of moving corruption from half of the landscape of Jamaica. Move these corrupted member of parliament. Move these corrupted civil servants. Get them arrested. Charge them like in a Singapore. Send them to prison for a very long time. Take away them asset where you know them steal. Put it back into the taxpayers' cap and see if Jamaica GDP in a rise for the people them. And when I talk about the private sector money where them want split up, you know. And talk about the whole Jamaica, this is the GDP. No. You can't have poor people have GDP. People when have no bank account, people who are anti-mouth, them can't even find food. Them can't ties with GDP. When you have a country where show a true reflection of GDP, and when you cut poverty and your unemployment up, that's how people earn to have a GDP that you can tie to them as individual. So what they do is use the private sector wealth and divide it by the population and say the GDP that wrong. Most Jamaican have nothing to be terms as having GDP. It is wrong. But it's the guy when you Wayne Henry I do all these things. Because Andrew have him in back pocket, you know. Just like him have Tadpole Green in his back pocket and awarding. You understand? I saw Andrew run the system and Jamaican people have to realize it. I saw Andrew run the country. Now run it like how it's supposed to run. Yeah, him have himself come and telling us that the country not running well. And he wasn't lying. At the one time he hear him talk something of any semblance of truth was when him tell we that the country not running well. Because him know. Him know at the time. And at the time him know say him should not take the money and I use that narrative to tell us if we pay them better, then things will better in the country. Because it get worse. Since them get this big high increase in salary packet, the country sink further. You want to know the man wicked to the country?
Yeah.
The man assemble a cabinet. Yeah?
Melton Pot,
yes.
use 1 more minute to wrap up because we have several
right.
topics to discuss.
Him assemble a cabinet. Yeah? And who are no senior minister, junior minister. And what him do? Put Jamaica taxpayers in a high debt deficit. The most expensive cabinet ever assembled in the history of Jamaica. This guy do it on the back of a recession and a depression. I yield back the floor. All
right, blessings. All right. Someone, as it relates to a particular subject matter that Melton Pot touched, right, which is 100% true, right, in speaking of when you have vital entity, right, like statin, right, PIOJ, Planning Institute of Jamaica, right, and these people are coming out with fictitious figure, right, to support the government, right. It is wrong. It's a fundamental wrong. Fundamental wrong. And we are going to prove it tonight as it relates to Wayne Henry, right? Evidence, strong evidence that I'm going to present tonight. You understand that he's a vicious liar. I wouldn't mind if he's watching us tonight. Strong evidence that I'm going to present tonight. Now, let us talk about the government financial year, right? 2024, right, into 2025. And so the financial year would begin in April 1st, 2024 and end March 30th, 2025. That is what considered to be the government financial year. Am I right, Ratty and Melton Pot?
Yes, 100%, Sir Byron. 100.
Okay. All right. So make we teach the people as it relates to first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, and fourth quarter. Because I am going to prove definitely that Wayne Henry is lying with the stats. Now, when we talk about first quarter, we talk about April, May, June. That is the first quarter of a financial year. We talk about second quarter. We talk about July, August, September. That is the second quarter. Third quarter, October, November, December. Fourth quarter, January, February to March 30th. So now that people understand when we talk about the government financial year. All right. Now, let us play this clip. People, I want you to follow me tonight and listen keenly. Look at this. Let us get into this. Right. Come on, that's it.
I know, I'm trying to find to expand it.
Okay. So just
Sector workers' job cuts coming for all who chose Jamaica.
listen to this.
Panic about the country's tax shortfall at the end of the last fiscal year. Williams says there's been an uptick in revenue collections over the last few months, which should go some way to offsetting the shortfall.
This is not a situation to panic, right? So there was a revenue shortfall in the last quarter of 24-25, just about $14 billion. And there was also a shortfall of a smaller magnitude, just about $1.5 billion in the first quarter of this fiscal year. Now, if you're going to have a shortfall, it's better to have that shortfall early in the year so that the government can take corrective action to actually bring things back on track. So within that context, I'm saying it's not a situation to panic at this time, but it's something that's worthy of looking deeply at it.
Courtney Williams, in its latest statement on fiscal performance, the Independent Fiscal Commission, the IFC, flagged a $14 billion tax shortfall at the end of the last fiscal year. This resulted in an overstating of the revenue base for 2025-26. The IFC cautioned that additional revenue may be needed to meet budgeted targets.
Williams says there's been a 6% improvement in revenue collection since the period covered by the report, but he warns that without adjustments to expenditure at minimum, a 9% rise in revenues is required. It's a kind of expansion in revenue collection that has rarely been seen in Jamaica's history.
For the period September through March of next year, when the fiscal year ends, the revenue collection, tax revenue, will have to increase by about 9.5%. And we have not seen that level of increase for the past 3 or so years. In fact, when we look at the past 10 years, excluding the COVID period, and I want to exclude that period because it was extraordinary, there would have been only three years where we saw tax revenue increasing by over 9% in the September to March period. So for most of those years, tax revenue did not increase by as much as the 9.5%, which is what would be required over the 7-month period from September through to March for it to come in line with target. So there's still a concern that the target for the revenue could still be missed.
iTax will hurt Jamaican people for the next
let us take that away.
5 years.
All right. Let us go into the fiscal responsibility statement here. Right, I'm going to show where we and Henry definitely lying. People, I want you to see this document. Now, let us read. Now, Ratty and Melting Pot, look at this. We are going to increase this because we want everybody to see it. All right, good. So let us read. For the first half of the fiscal year 2024-2025, right? Fiscal year. The Jamaican economy declined in real terms by 1.6%, which was largely due to the impact on the country of the passage of Hurricane Beryl in July 2024. The Planning Institute of Jamaica indicates that agriculture and fisheries sector, along with public infrastructures, road network island-wide, suffered significant losses, right, of 8.2 billion and 18.3 billion respectively. Now, the economy was also impacted by the passage of tropical storm Raphael in November 2024 and a sustained period of rainfall across several months arising primarily from these climate-related events. The real economy is projected to decline by approximately 0.7% in fiscal year 2024-2025. People, this is what we and Henry, yeah, you understand, reported for the fiscal year 2024-2025. The government of Jamaica following a post-hurricane Beryl assessment by CCRIF SPC, was advised that both its tropical cyclone and excess rainfall policies had triggered, resulting in insurance payout of Jamaica 26.9 million. Ratty and Melting Pot, were you aware of this payout that happened as a result of Beryl?
No, I wasn't aware of that. First time I'm seeing that.
No, I'd heard, not specifically this, but I believe I'd heard about some flooding insurance they have with CCRIF.
All right. We wonder how this money is spending.
Yeah. You know what? Yes, they did get when Beryl passed through, they did get money from the CCR, which is a Caribbean version of the cat bond for flooding.
Okay.
Yeah.
So since show up in this year, Ratty, $26.9 million.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Which assisted the timeliness of the recovery and response effort and contributed to limiting the negative impact on the physical operation. For the April-December 2024 period, the central government fiscal and primary balances were better than the second supplementary budget target by 3.6 and 0.7% respectively. There were shortfalls for both revenue and grants, 1.4%, and expenditure net of amortization, 1.5%. The fiscal and primary balances for fiscal year are estimated at 0.3% and 6.0% of GDP. One of the shortfall, you understand, was also corporate taxes. So Melting Pot and Ratty, you know that Big Mama would have involved.
A large chunk of that. A Big Mama responsibility.
Well, as it relates to these taxes that have not been collected, that create the shortfall, you understand, I think Big Mama owe roughly about $1.4 billion.
1.5 billion and more.
Oh, so it gone up now?
Yes, man.
All
That's
right.
1.4 long time.
Okay. At the end of October 2024, unemployment stood at its lowest on record 3.5%. You know, you're nothing for Ratty, Ratty now accuse it. With male unemployment at 2.6% and female unemployment at 4.5%. Annualized inflation at December 2024 stood at 5.0%, which was within the central bank targeted range of 4 to 6%. During fiscal year 2025-2026, the government will continue to drive its development agenda for the public sector, including fiscal commission, which will commence in February 2025, examine and table its report 2 weeks after fiscal policy paper is tabled in Parliament. The government of Jamaica will also continue to explore the implementation of a climate finance unit within the Ministry of Finance and the Public Service. People who think, say, all right, look, prudent fiscal management enables a government to be nimble and ready to respond to the crisis. This was demonstrated once more with response to Hurricane Beryl, right, Raphael, that impacted Jamaica in July and November 2024, respectively. The government of Jamaica, both hydrometeorological events included the Relief Emergency Assistance REACH program, 2.3 billion, and the constituency-based disaster mitigation program, 1.3 billion. Citizens, particularly economical challenge, look to their government in times of crisis to provide support and help as they recover. Now, look where we are going now, people. Now, the reason why I show that background, here the lies that Wayne Henry is going to tell people more. Yes, take away that document now. Let me show the lies now that Wayne Henry, right, is going to tell. Look at this, Ratty. Look at this Melting Pot. Watch this. Look where we are going. Look at this, people. Right? Wayne Henry claimed that the economy grew by 4.6%. We are going to break down that and show it. Now, here it is. Not telling any lie on Wayne Henry. economy grew 4.6% for July to September quarter, right? So that is the second quarter, you know. Remember, that's why I'm showing this. This is the second quarter, right? Now, this is Wayne Henry. Jamaica economy grew by an estimated 4.6%, right, during July to September 2025 quarter compared with the corresponding period in 2024, right? Said in comparison with the with last year, right, the 2025, right, grew to an estimated 4.6%. Now, the announcement was made by Director General at the Planning Institute of Jamaica, Dr. Wayne Henry, during a hybrid quarterly press briefing where the Institute provided preliminary estimate on the performance of the economy and poverty figures. Now, Dr. Henry said the estimated outturn for the review quarter largely reflected recovery from the low production experience in the similar quarter of 2024. Now, the economy recorded relatively strong growth driven mainly by the industries that were most impacted by Hurricane Beryl. People want to listen now, you know. Now watch this now. The economy recorded relatively strong growth driven mainly by the industries that were most impacted by Hurricane Beryl that caused damage estimated at 56.7 billion in the corresponding quarter of 2024, he explained. The Director General noted that during the review period, both the goods producing and services industry recorded growth. I want to remember that, you know. This is what I'm saying, you know. The goods producing industry is estimated to have expanded by 10%, driven by increased output across all industries. I want to listen to what I say, people, because tonight I go club by him. While the services industry recorded estimated growth of 3%. I want to hear what I'm saying, you know. Hear him now. The agriculture, forestry and fishing industry grew by 23.9% based on the PIOJ's production index, reflecting the full recovery from the effects of Hurricane Beryl. Don't lie at this, you know. Me I got busting bubble tonight, you know. This improved performance was evident in the performance of the other agricultural crops component, which was estimated to have expanded by 26.8%. So set up the thing and for Andrew, to make Andrew look good and tell PLI, Dr. Henry outlined. You know what you know, people? Higher production was recorded for all 9 crops groups, with the largest increases recorded for cereals up to 76.5%, condiments up to 43.3%, vegetable up to 36.6%, and fruits up to 29.9%. I mean, everything a fire. The economy are gone. Hold on. Additionally, increased output was recorded for traditional export crops, which grew by 40.6%, reflecting increases in the production of banana up to 44.4%, coffee up to 162.4%, and sugar cane up to 51.7%. Hold on, man. I said we got cramp him tonight. Me gonna mash him down tonight. Hold on, no, honey. Animal farming was estimated to have increased by 3.7% due to the combined effect of higher poultry meat production of 7.2% and lower egg production of 24.9%. You now, people, watch out now. Mining and quarry grew by 3.8%, reflecting higher output in bauxite and alumina and quarrying sub-industries. People know look when people like them, you know. The manufacturing industry increased by an estimated 4.4%. You never know someone about upon this document, you know. Due to higher output in the food, beverages, and tobacco and other manufacturing sub-industries, while the construction industry, when you look at our people, was estimated to have grown by 4.8%, reflecting estimated growth in both the building construction, you know, and other construction components of the industry. Now, Meanwhile, Dr. Henry outlined that the growth in the service industry was led by a 6.6% increase in electricity. People want to listen to this, because I said we're going to mash them up tonight, Meanwhile, Dr. Henry outlined that the growth in the service industry was led by a 6.6% increase in electricity, water supply, and waste management industry, reflecting higher electricity and water consumption stemming from the recovery from the damage caused by Hurricane Beryl in 2024. Watch this now. Electricity consumption grew by 8.1%, people. You hear what I said? Reflecting a higher consumption for all 6 categories. Higher consumption was recorded in 12 of the 14 parishes, led by Manchester up to 16.1%, Hanover up to 13.7%, and St. Anne up to 13.3%. The Director General outlined. He noted as well that the transport and storage industry grew by 5.2% relative to corresponding quarter of 2024. Everything has spring high. You understand? Because he wants to sell the narrative as it relates to what Andrew Holness and Michael Leachin talk about 5 and 4. So now the 2025, everything I run good now, man. Everything I run good. Now, this was driven by an increase in their transport subcomponent, reflecting a 5.6 upturn in passenger movement and growth in maritime transport activities, reflecting a 12.6% increase in total cargo handling. Dr. Henry noted that in the review period, wholesale and retail trade expanded by 4.7%. Mighty goodness. Higher sales were recorded for 7 of the 8 categories, including hardware, building supplies, and electrical goods and machinery up to 2.6%. Motor vehicles, auto repairs, and accessories up to 26.6%. Agriculture, food, beverages, and tobacco up to 7.4%. So the economy are going good. And wholesale of household goods and office equipment up to 8.4% EDTL. Dr. Henry noted that accommodation and food service activities industries is estimated have grown by 3.6%. Preliminary data indicate that stopover arrivals for July and August 2025 was 535,643 visitors, representing an increase of 7%. You wait until I find evidence and little with this tonight, you go poop. Now, the Director General said, now, meanwhile, he added that for the first 9 months of 2025, Jamaica real gross domestic product GDP was estimated to have increased by 2.4%. This reflected higher real value added of 5% for the good producing industry and 1.6% for the service industries. The most significant drivers of this performance were agriculture, with forestry and fishing 11.3%, accommodation and food service activities up to 2.9%, construction up to 2.6%. The Director General reported. Now, people, after I say all of that, I don't know where me go take my inquisitive self for now. Gonna say me gonna investigate. People, me now take my inquisitive self. Right? And say, me I go investigate. Now watch a people. Put up the next document. Right. Now, him said JPS grew by such and grew by that the first 9 months of 2025. Everything was maybe positive growth and everything good. The economy strong and everything and that. Me now go take my inquisitive self. Me don't know how me so inquisitive enough. And me now go look on JPS growth. You know, look at how me go find out people. Watch out. Put it up. JPS net profit dip. You come here, people. You come watch this. People come and watch this. People, you come look on this. Liard Wayne Henry. Come look on this. Liard Wayne Henry. JPS net profit dips to 17.8 million for quarter 3. Right? Saturday, November 22, 2025. You know. The Jamaica Public Service Company, JPS, has reported steady performance for the third quarter of 2025 despite rising costs and a challenging operating environment. However, net profit dipped to 17.8 million compared to 19.6 million in same period last year as operating expenses and finances caused weigh on earnings. You dirty liar, yo. The utility posted operating revenue of 292.2 million for the quarter, up from 274.9 million a year earlier. Now, driven by a higher electricity demand and tariff adjustment. For the 9-month period, JPS recorded revenues 836.8 million and a net profit of 42.5 million, down from 49.7 million in 2024, you old dirty liar. JPS continues to invest heavily in infrastructure with 71.5 million spent on property, plant, and equipment so far this year. Cash flows from operation remain strong, 163.6 million, supporting liquidity as the company prepares for future challenges, including recovery efforts following Hurricane Melissa in late October. Take that away, old dirty liar. All right. Now, let us go somewhere else and look upon this news release now. All right, find up the next document. Now, when you call to them something now, Jamaica, you can get to the next document. Now, I want to watch now, people. This is a Statistical Institute of Jamaica. See that? See the evidence, eh? Kingston, November 27, 25. For October 2025, the producer index for the mining and quarry industry decreased by 4.2%. While IMSA, it increased by over 6.10%. You know. While the index for the manufacturing industry fell by 0.2% as released today by the Statistical Institute of Jamaica. The decline in the index of the mining and quarry industry was driven by a 4.4% fall in the index of the major group bauxite, mining, and aluminum processing. The main contributor to the decline in the index of the manufacturing industry was a 1.6% decrease in the index for the major group refined petroleum products. The overall increase in the industry was, however, moderate at 0.1% increase in the index of the heaviest weighted major group food, beverage, and tobacco. You say you're dirty liar. You say you lie. You say you're lying and wicked. For the period October 2024 to October 2025, the point-to-point index for the mining and quarry industry decreased by 31.7%. You dirty liar, you Wayne Henry. You're wicked to the Jamaican people if they come out and tell them a liar. This was due to a decline of 32.9% in the index for the major group bauxite mining and aluminum processing. The point-to-point index for the manufacturing industry, right, increased by 2.4%. This was due to a 3.6% upward movement in the index for the major group food, beverage, and tobacco. However, the industry overall increase was tempered by a 3% fall in the index for the major group refined petroleum products. In October 2025, the Producer Price Index Bulletin provides additional information of the movements of producers' price, right, and is available on Statin website. Take that away on it. So now, let me go to the panel now. So, melting pot. Let me put you in the gear.
Yeah.
Now, you tell me now, melting pot. The man come out and the man say everything produced, everything I increase, everything. Jamaica economy good, solid, nothing wrong. So then,
no.
JPS, the energy sector, show you say nothing now go on. And the other index want me show you say that they're experiencing a decline. What say you on the matter, Melting Pot?
Well, my take on the matter is that this guy has been lying, yeah, to the Jamaican public at large, just to make Andrew Holness look good, yeah. And so we know why he did it, because I mean, the 5% growth in 4 years was what he was trying to, attain to the government, because they have never attained that in terms of what they set out to. Yeah? So we know exactly why them go out on the all-out attack to show growth in every sector. But even the blind can see. I mean, I talk about the blind where they all the way up on Mars, Can't see, I lie them I tell. Because Jamaica does not have that type of economy, yeah, in the first place, for sure all of them growth. In terms of purchasing power that lies amongst the people in Jamaica, Jamaica economy can't show them level of growth, yeah, across the sector where I outlined to us, yeah. But then we catch him with JPS, and we laugh half time with that, because we are look on it from, when we are look on it, Mystic, from Sunday.
Exactly.
Yeah, and we laugh half time on that. Yeah, aluminum sector, we laugh half time. Food and beverage, we laugh. Yeah, all of the sector that we might tell you about, manufacturing, we laugh. Because even the agriculture as it relates to fishery and forestry, we laugh after them.
It mentions says cereal. We when we start to grow,
we don't produce wheat, we produce cereal. We don't come to that. We don't produce cereal. We import grains. You understand? I think most of it come from Ukraine. Yeah, because Ukraine are the largest supplier in that regard. So what this guy I tell you, it's bullshit. That's why I'm saying for charge for perjury. Yeah? I know that for a fact. And him for lose him job and him for go prison. Because when you can come out and manipulate these numbers, these numbers are critical number, to the economy, and the state of affairs in the country, When you are lie and cover up things to make a regime look good, you forgot prison feet. And it's the only fact of the matter, butter up on the mouth. Yeah? Butter up on the puss mouth. So that's why I'm come out and, make these allegations in regards to the economy. Yeah? I know Jamaica have the strength behind the economy for it grow to the percentage of 4.6. Yeah, in that quarter between July and September. No way, shape, or form. You understand? Because I write the point out that period was the election period. Yeah, and when you look on the ground and see the amount of people them when
let me show the evidence, because him say, you understand, we increase in wheat, so we have to show that, right? We want to show people the line, right? Look at this Melting Pot. Look on the lie what the man tell, man. Now this is very serious, to the Jamaican people, Look at the big lie what the man tell. The man tell about wheat, and see there? See the evidence here? No, Jamaica does not grow significant amounts of wheat. It is a major importer of wheat and wheat flour, relying heavily on countries like the US, while promoting local alternatives like sweet potatoes to reduce import independence. So you're saying we cannot lie? No, the next one, what on the Melting Pot? I could go in on the next one and show you how, you understand, dangerous Wayne Henry is. Wayne Henry need to resign. If this was a true democracy, you understand, him couldn't work tomorrow now. See that? Hold on. Him talk about how sugar cane grew. Right, how much percent? I could show the public. I show the people lie them when I tell. Yes, Jamaica still grows sugar cane but production has significantly declined from its peak due to a high cost, labor shortages, and land reallocation. Though the government aims to revitalize the industry by focusing on refined sugar, rum, and energy, moving beyond just raw sugar export, only 2 sugar mills are currently operating, and while farming continues, the focus is shifting towards value-added product and diversifying the sugar cane value. So he man even come out and tell, look on this, key points on Jamaica. Go look into the key points. See the key points in Jamaica sugar industry. Decline in production output dropped from historic highs in the 1960s to around 40,000 tons by the nearly 2020s, with further decrease expected. Right? And the man come out and the man tell you how sugar gone up. You understand? Hey, look here. Jamaica, listen to me. The brother have to go to prison. Andrew Holness must stop do them something here. Because it is Andrew Holness extended arm. You understand? With the pressure, them people have to tell lie. Vicious. Go ahead, Melting Pot. Sorry.
And I mean, we have to point it out because we know it for a fact. Yeah, because as it relates to even sugar, we know what them do with the sugar industry. Them divest it to some Chinese entity, and we see where them close most of the sugar, houses them, money must gone and all them places gone. And we see them what them try to do with the sugar land them. Yeah. God even they said Michael Leachin supposed to get the one them over Bernard Lodge to plant pepper. You understand? As where Michael Andrew Wallace say, or Andrew Michael Wallace. I never know his name because I never like hearing him name. Yeah? So we know say Andrew Holness and this guy, they are working in collaboration. You understand? Andrew get a lot of favor done by Wayne Henry. Not only to achieve the 5 and 4 as was originally stated, but to also show credibility on the part of the government and the running of the country and the increasing, growth throughout all the sector them. Now, I've never seen Jamaica show so much growth. And even when Jamaica did even in a better, period of time, you understand? Much less to when Jamaica now sink and drop on its face and down in a precipice where them call depression. And this guy will come out with this. But a mainstream media allow him.
Exactly.
Him put there in the UK and do this, BBC out for him like a hawk. Him job gone by a morning. You understand? News of the world, the sun, the mirror, the star, everybody down upon him. So him would have to, leave this place. But them can operate like this in Jamaica because the government in charge of the day in Jamaica is even more corrupted than Wayne Henry. A lot of them, lot of them people are eat Andrew apple. You understand? Whole heap of them are eat Andrew apple. I remember it's a forbidden fruit, You have to sin. And that them a do. Because whole heap of box about to run throughout the society. Everybody on a mouth grease up. Because so them decide, so well then, money I run, make some money. You can't do that when you're in charge of, institution like PIOJ. You cannot do that. That is misleading. That is misleading the people in the country. Yeah? And them are doing through some AI thing where them are put out to people in the diaspora show you the growth of Jamaica and I put some picture in the Bible, see them scenery from here travel throughout Jamaica. Because them want to catch people attention. But everybody knows say a country that borrow like Jamaica We don't really have no real manufacturing industry to drive the economy. Cannot attain these growth. These growth are too high. First world countries are struggling to attain these growth. But because them have the people them dunce in Jamaica, and them know most people don't even listen to what them say in general. Them won't go hear them, but them not listen to understand what them say. Yet them can't come out with it. And it make news because the news media we have report on this, Them control the news media too. So the main people them know say a lie. But the majority people them when they have the education, we understand what them are tell them say. So yeah man, the country a grow man, you hear them say. That time them a suffer and a beg. You understand? Remember them, enough of them can't put bread on them table, Bread or something, common as salt that. Common as salt. Bread. But a lot of Jamaicans cannot afford it. Egg. Them can't afford it. The man I'll tell you say, egg grow to production. You understand? Then if the production are increased, or the prices are right, expect the price to start drop. The price would have fall, because so economy operate. When you have high volume, then the prices tend to fall. You get a reduction in prices. Yeah? But a thing like cereal, and that puzzle me. Cereal? Where the corn there? Alright, I'm going to just go down a corn mill. How much corn Jamaica grow? We produce cereal in that regard. We don't grow wheat. We don't grow wheat. You understand? So I don't know where this guy I tell. Not even rice we not grow. So this guy come, muddy the water. Well, he might grow it. Maybe he might drop some agricultural land where we don't know about. You understand? But me know him come for muddy the water. Yeah. But you understand? Because we can't see through this, We can't see through this. We have to get some lens where the astronaut them use to look through the water yeah, where muddy. Because muddy the water to make Andrew look good. Because I'm the one we see through it, But we will see through these things because we understand how the economy run. We know about GDP. We know all these things. The common people in Jamaica now go look through it because them not privy to the understanding and the knowledge of what I say. So them just nasty up the water with them lies. Yeah, and for Andrew look good. But we are tell Wayne Henry say, yeah, time soon come upon you too, And not just politician alone time a company, Whole heap of people in Jamaica in a civil society. Time a closing for other because high level of corruption it a expose day in, day out. And I yield back the floor.
All right. Let us thank you for that melting pot. Let us bring in Brother Rattigan for his input. Brother Ratti, yes, tell us as it relates to those comparisons that we made here.
Well, let me start off by saying that PIOJ are supposed to use statistics, because statin is the official clearinghouse for statistics for the Jamaican government. So I don't know how statin could come out with one set of figures and PIOJ come out with another set. No. When you listen to the PIOJ report, everything is up, nothing is down.
Nothing is down.
Nothing is down. Everything is up. And I'll tell you when this happened. I'll tell you a time when everything in Jamaica was up. Manufacturing, producing, all of that stuff was up and nothing was down. Never.
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 I'm sure right. You're right. Never.
Yeah, never. Where everything is up and nothing's down. Never. And I hear I hear melting pot talk about cereal, wheat and corn. And it suddenly hit me that the gentleman that from PIOJ, I had never heard the name before. Maybe the name I don't recognize the name. The man is a serial liar.
Well, that's what it is.
Yeah,
You're right.
Yeah, the man is a serial liar. Because you know what happened? I just pull up statins stuff for the year from January to July. And one of the things, and somebody put it in the chat, say you can't have a progressive society if you don't produce anything. And you can't import. You can't just import and say everything is up, nothing's down. And then when I look at this thing from January to July of this year, I see where Jamaica exported. Remember now, everything is up. Jamaica exported a little over $1 billion US.
Yes.
Exported $1 billion US. And by the way, that was down. That wasn't up. It was down for the corresponding period, right? It was down 2.9, almost 3%. Down. Not up. Not like here, the man the attack, everything went up. 1 billion. You know how much Jamaica imported during that time period? 4.5 billion.
Look at that.
There's a deficit right there. And
Why
guess
deficit?
what? That went up 3.8%. So imports went up, exports went down, and you tell me say everything is up? Everything can be up, man. You don't need to be an economist to figure this out, you know. You just have to be able to just read and understand and realize that the two set of figures don't jive. The two sets don't jive. PIOJ, statin. And look, you don't have to do a whole heap of polls, you know. You don't have to do a whole heap of polling. All you have to do is just ask. Just ask the people. Is life better for you now than before? And discount Melissa if we can. Just put Melissa aside, because Melissa made it worse. So just say, without Melissa, how were things going for you? And I guarantee you, people are going to tell you that things terrible. Another thing with them don't talk about, you know, is if everything will go up, then how people can survive with 13,000 as minimum wage. And if everything will go up, then how you come and tell us about unemployment rate down? That's foolishness. We rubbish this already. You know, we talk about the new system when them use for count people who are unemployed, who truly unemployed. And when we read these things, we have to just remind our people that, listen, they'll come and they'll feed you. They'll feed you these cereal lies. They'll feed you the cereal lies, right? But your belly at the true pole, you know. Your belly at the true pole. And when you can't feed yourself, and I mean, the UN come out and said, I forget the number, them say like 40% of Jamaicans, them not eat properly, right? So, you know, your belly will tell you that, listen, what them people I tell you is just pure nonsense. So, look, we don't have much more to say on the subject except to say that brother is a serial liar.
All right. Watch this, Ratty. We are going to finish tonight with geopolitics, right? Because I want to hear your views on this as well, since we will touch the geopolitics. You understand Venezuela and what is going on with the United States is really very serious, right? Might be something that you didn't hear, because it seems like Russia want to get involved in this, and Wish now telling me now that this is really dangerous. Now, let us get into it, first, let us play the Jamaican clip in terms of that lady responding to it. Let me, yes. So, can you find it? This looks serious, Ratties. While we are here, speaking on other issues. We have some serious things developing, and we need to at least give our comment on that. Yes. Listen, what's her name? Listen to this clip here.
Because I've been saying to you, the incursion in Caribbean waters, the Armada, 8 warships, nuclear-powered submarines, 10 F-35 fighter jets from the U.S. alone, and not in the Caribbean waters, and another warship off the coast of Guadeloupe sent by France. That has nothing to do with narco trafficking. It don't even have anything to do with what you call it, transnational organized crime that we have been talking about for a very long time in this space. What it has to do with 3 things. 1, regime change in Venezuela, but not isolated. Venezuela is connected to China. One of the heaviest investment in Venezuela is China. This is geopolitics at its most intense. So read the political article. So 1, China, Venezuela, Guyana, Venezuela, Russia, Cuba, and Russia, Caribbean waters. If you recall, Russia just sent 2 nuclear-powered submarines through the Caribbean waters just a few months ago, you know. So if you read what Politico is saying this morning, that the Pentagon plan prioritizes homeland over China threat, this tells us that they have taken the war to the Caribbean. And I'm going to come back to it because we have to pay attention. We have to pay attention. This is not as simple as it appears. This is not about drug trafficking. This is not about narco trafficking. This is not about gun running. This is the geopolitical war on the heels of China. And one of the reasons, listen, China, we mentioned it this morning, on the 3rd of September, 2nd into 3rd, rolled out what I am calling the most definitive military operation yet, to show the world that China is now the global political, economic, and military leader. And basically what China has said to the United States and the European Union, come test now, come test. Because if you look again, and we were all, well, you were all distracted, mostly distracted by what was happening with the elections and so on, that you paid little or no attention. Trinidad has gone out. The United States bombed a fishing vessel in Caribbean waters. 11 people did in there. And they said it was drug running. Now, even if it is the most dangerous drug on earth, international law dictates that you swoop down upon them with the 8 nuclear-powered submarine and warships and the 10 F-35 military jets that you have.
People to get the gist in terms of what we are saying now. Listen now, Jamaican people, as it relates to recently Russia's engagement into this. Listen to this. This now looks serious. This really looks serious. Right? Russia engagement in this really now stepping up the level of the tension. This is serious.
Good evening. What we are witnessing right now in the Western Hemisphere is something the United States has spent 2 centuries trying to prevent. It's the one scenario American strategists hoped would never happen again after the Cuban Missile Crisis. And yet here we are. Russia has positioned advanced missile systems on Venezuelan soil, mobile, concealed, protected by Russian-trained units, and capable of reaching targets that lie deep inside the continental United States. And the moment U.S. intelligence confirmed what those systems were, where they were positioned, and who was operating them, Washington moved into high alert without a second of hesitation. This crisis didn't begin with a speech. It didn't begin with a threat. It began quietly, the way these things always begin in the real world. A satellite sweep, a convoy caught in motion, a heat signature that didn't match anything Venezuela should have, a shape in the shadows of a military base that analysts in Virginia and Colorado immediately recognized as something they hoped they'd never see in this hemisphere. And when they zoomed in, everything changed. At first, American analysts saw the outlines of transporter erector launchers, TELs, vehicles used specifically to carry and fire ballistic or cruise missiles. At that moment, the alarms in the intelligence community jumped from curiosity to serious concern. But when the second pass revealed radar arrays shaped in the exact pattern of Russian mobile long-range targeting systems, concern escalated to full-scale alarm. Then the final confirmation arrived. A Russian Il-76 military transport aircraft landing in Caracas, offloading equipment covered in heat-resistant tarps, guarded by Venezuelan forces wearing Russian-style combat gear. That was it. No more doubt, no more uncertainty. Russia had delivered strategic missile systems into the Western Hemisphere. And if you analyze this through the lens of classical realism, my lens, this move makes perfect strategic sense. Great powers behave according to fear, power, and geography. The Russians have watched NATO creep steadily closer to their borders. They've watched Western weapons strike deeper into Russian-controlled territory. They've watched U.S. policymakers talk openly about weakening Russia, and they've concluded something fundamental. If they do not respond by creating pressure in America's backyard, the United States will continue expanding its military influence in Russia's. This is how great powers think, not morally, not emotionally, but strategically. The presence of Russian missile systems in Venezuela is not a gesture, it's a message. And it's a message designed to remind Washington.
Ratty, let me just begin with you, Ratty, first. Right, as it relates to the development, right, in our Caribbean space, right? The situation with, United States, right? Donald Trump ordering a portion of the military to pin around Venezuela, right? Obviously, based on what we are looking at and the evidence coming out, has nothing to do with drugs. Appears to be regime change. Now, Russia had invested a lot in Venezuela and China had invested a lot in Venezuela, right? Now, how does that move, right, pan out if United States still want to pursue in terms of a regime change, and if Russia engage, would that situation can escalate into World War III? Your argument on it.
Look, you kind of hope that whatever the tensions are, that the cooler heads will prevail. If you recall, Venezuela was probably still, but at one point, Venezuela was on the verge of fighting with Guyana, and cooler head stepped in, and that kind of calmed down. Now what we have is this. We have a significant American presence in the Caribbean, close to Venezuela. And then we have the presence of China and Russia there. I don't want to be the purveyor of gloom and doom, but this is a very, very dangerous situation. One mistake, and this could be catastrophic for the entire region. And what I haven't seen, and I know why, but I haven't seen the leader of CARICOM playing a decisive role, a significant role in trying to figure out what's going on and stalling whatever the tension is, trying to quiet the pressure. I haven't seen leadership. And remember, our Prime Minister is now the leader of CARICOM. And him can't lead. Him can't lead nobody. Him can't lead anything. And so it looks like at this point in time, like it's gonna be a free for all, because CARICOM is not united. CARICOM is not united. Trinidad do them own thing, Guyana do them own thing, all the other islands do them own thing. So the question is why we even have a leader of CARICOM, because this is exposing what CARICOM is all about. This is truly exposing what CARICOM is all about. And it's not about unity. It's about self-preservation. So for example, you see where Trinidad has sided with the US. Trinidad say, hey, you know what? We don't have any problems with, doing whatever you want to do from our country. We don't have any objections, or at least they have voiced any objection with what's going on. I haven't heard. In fact, there are countries in the Caribbean who have voiced objections to what's going on. I think Barbados and a few other islands.
Yes.
But we haven't heard from the Prime Minister. And so now going back to the original question was, hey, what does this portend for the Caribbean, where you have basically three superpowers in the region? Is this the beginning of World War III? Look, every day you get up and you hope that something will happen that people will just say, okay, all right, fine, you know what, and they'll back off. But it doesn't look like it's going to happen. Sad to say, it doesn't look like it's going to happen. And the idea of the U.S. government creeping on Venezuela, and that the narco traffickers is the reason for that, it's not playing out. And you can see it's not playing out well in the US either. It's not playing out well in the US because people are saying, the Coast Guard, that's their job. And they've been doing it for decades. And so why is it now the US is in, the military is involved, and this is something that the Coast Guard, they're used to doing. And I haven't heard a reasonable answer as to why the military have supplanted the Coast Guard. I haven't heard a good reason. So look, it's a very dangerous situation, and it doesn't look like it's getting any better. Hopefully it will, but I don't see any signs of it.
But let me ask you a question, Rati. If we are just say for argument's sake, right? If a war should break out, right, and Russia to engage, how would that look for not just Jamaica, not just Trinidad, the Caribbean economy itself? What would be the impact?
Well, first of all,
impact on that.
First of all, should a war break out, we don't know what the Caribbean is going to look like in terms of topography, geography. We don't know, because, I mean, God forbid somebody let off one of them there, and I hate that. It's just completely finished. And then also you have to look at people's alliances. Jamaica was warned a while back about its relationship with China, and Jamaica continued. And so the Chinese have a significant presence in Jamaica. They have significant ties with the Jamaican government. They have significant investments in Jamaica. That is going to be the Russians are in Jamaica as well. They were there. They've been there with the bauxite industry. And while other nations were busy doing something else, the Chinese were just busy fighting this battle with economics. They weren't fighting with missiles, and they weren't in, the only war they were engaging was an economic war. They were just going out doing their thing, except with Taiwan. Taiwan, they have a definite problem, and every now and again they rattle the saber at Taiwan. But that's why it's going to be difficult, because I'm telling you, Mystic, when you say if there's a war, if a war should break out, and then China get involved, the US involved, and Russia, the region is going to change forever. We don't know what it's going to look like. And so I don't even want to think like that, because I say, if something like this should ever happen, and all it needs, and you know what? All it could take is just one mistake, One mistake, somebody looking at a screen and see something that they believe to be, an act of aggression, and then they respond. That's all. So what we need to do, we need some leadership in this thing here. But unfortunately, our guy is no leader, and we see time and time again, when the piper play, when they play a tune, you have to dance. And so that's exactly what's going on with him right now. So
and here it is, Ratty, it goes to the art of corruption, because when you are corrupted, and you have lights like United States and other countries, have the lead on you, then you are fully compromised.
No, now looking at the chat, I'm saying chip side say Andrew Holness should, like him, I said, we say Andrew Holness should get in the middle of 3 superpowers. These people really don't like Andrew. No, it's not that in a chip side. But we're not talking about Andrew Holness, the Prime Minister of Jamaica now. We're talking about Andrew Holness, the leader of CARICOM. And remember, the CARICOM, in case you didn't know, are the Caribbean states, right? And so something is going on in the Caribbean. And we'll say, okay, where is the leader of the Caribbean? So it's not Andrew Holness, because if it was just Andrew Holness, the Prime Minister of Jamaica, we could have said, okay, I'd find him, don't want to really get involved. But the leadership rotated, and it just so happens that now you have it. And what is expected of you is the same thing that you would expect of what the previous president stood for. And that was the previous leader. That's the Bajan Prime Minister. And we know that she's not afraid to come out and say what she needs to say. And when she was leading the CARICOM, you see what she do? She go all over the world, and she didn't change our message. She did not change our message. So people can expect that now from the current leader, and we're not getting it. So the idea that, well, Andrade the Prime Minister, that won't cut it. That won't cut it. If you know what I'm sure do then, if him no want that, when Paul Buchanan filed a lawsuit, him shall say, you know what, Paul, don't worry, I will step down. I will give you the seat. And then him come at us back down and say, I'm no longer Prime Minister. So I cannot, if I'm not Prime Minister, if I'm not a member of Parliament, I can't be Prime Minister. And if I'm not Prime Minister, I can't lead CARICOM. That was the easy way out. But you want to play with the big boys, you want power? Here it is. Here's the stage. Make we see how you're going to deliver now. Stand up and deliver. So that's it.
Well, all right. Melting Pot, what say you? Thank you for that, Ratty. Love the input. All right. What say you, Melting Pot?
Well, we always look on things from, a different angle. Yeah. When we hear say it was war and drugs, me and you take a dim view.
Yes.
To that, Byron. Yeah. Because we know it could never be. You understand? Based on the operation that we saw was taking place. And we hit the nail on the head. And now it is out there now. Everybody categorically deny the fact says war and drugs. It's about moving leadership from Venezuela, who has tied himself to the BRICS, which include China, Russia, and other countries, but mainly China and Russia. Because China and Russia, Byron, we saw what China did with the military exhibition, showing the world its true might and getting a few of its allied to participate in the parade. So that was a message. I mean, you talk about it already, Byron. That was a message where the China administration has sent, not just to America, but the entire West, Europe as well. Because when you look, you see China, you see South Korea, you see Russia and India. You understand? And I mean, when you combine manpower resource, round us have more people than anywhere else in the world, around Asia. You understand? And then when you look on nuclear device, yeah, them have more than America. And them have more than the West as it relates to Europe. Yeah. So this is not a war that America can win, even though it have a stage in our backyard. I don't see how America would win this war. You understand? So the intimidation where America used on Venezuela, them have to retreat now. Yeah, because I mean Russia sent 2 submarines secretly in the place and deploy certain other things where imagery has showed them say, well, here what now? Some intruders there in the backyard, And them I wonder say, them come in and we never see them. And them I say, yeah man, say distinct imagery I show we say certain thing there and them thing are going to attach to Russia. You understand? So now it's cause of concern. Because Ratty said, and I mean, it's no, doubt that if somebody just make a mistake, yeah, by seeing an object and, trigger happy and go do something. It's a full-scale war in the Caribbean where we ourselves would have never thought would have occurred in our region based on the geographical location of the island and, the amount of people and the resource that it relates to arms and, those type of heavy artillery. Caribbean don't really possess that. Caribbean don't possess that. The Caribbean region is one of the peacefulest regions in the world. Yeah? But now when you have a guy like Trump, who want to throw him weight right round the world, you will have these type of things occurring. You understand? Because Trump is a reckless guy, The reckless guy that like to demand, attention on the world stage. Yeah? I hear him talking about becoming president and ending the war in Ukraine, between Ukraine and Russia. He don't achieve that. And the time when take to end the war between Israel and Gaza, that also overrun its time. Yeah? Because Trump is not as powerful as the word is. Where I come from his mouth. He's a weak guy who intimidate people. And he will intimidate you. And if you become, intimidated by the tone and voice, you surrender and crumble. You understand? But with Venezuela now having the backing of Russia and China, that will not happen. So if Trump wants to start a war, it will be an all-out war, yeah, that's gonna cause a lot of devastation in the region. Yeah? And I asked myself the question a few days ago. Why would Trump want to start a war right now as we speak when the World Cup of football will be staged between Canada, America, and Mexico next year? I can't see the logics in that. Because that is a global economic viability where America will benefit immensely from. Yeah? Hotel, TV rights, commercial deal, and all these things. So me ask myself the question, where Trump go with this? Because Trump should have known fully well, Yeah? Say, the fact that China and Russia And them are the two main conglomerate with the BRICS, which is the currency now that rivaling the US dollar. And Venezuela and Cuba in this region here now, who sign up to the BRICS. Obviously, Russia and China go back them because these two countries are moving away from the Americans and forming an allied partnership with the BRICS. So the BRICS are going to depend in country that support him product. You understand? So Trump have to understand fully well what he is embarking upon will be a catastrophe in the region. That will not only damage the Caribbean country, Latin and South America, but mainland America as well. So, you know, as Ratty rightfully said, the man who is in charge of CARICOM, we not hear nothing from him. Because him get caught between the rock and the deep blue sea. He must sleep between the dragon and the eagle. You understand? And him not no backbone, him not no vice. Yeah? And me and Matley now would have stand up. And you know that know where CARICOM stand in all of this. Because the heads of CARICOM would have come out and put out something as a statement in regard to the whole operation where take place. Even in the demolition and the best and killing of people in the region. Yeah. But we don't hear nothing from the CARICOM guy who head CARICOM. We don't hear anything from Andrew. Because Andrew is not a leader, keep telling people. Andrew just like the post them. Yeah? Andrew should be a postman. We go around and, you know, just anchor around people's backyard. Because we not get nothing from Andrew. The man in charge of the region and there's a war imminent. Yeah? Within the region. And the man can't talk, but yet still we see him say him run Ghana, South Africa where they a G20 go meet them leaders there. Like him is a guy where command respect on the world stage. And you know so nobody would not listen to him if him come talk about the war. They would have more listen to me and Matley because she has been performing on that stage amongst world leaders and superpower country. She speak out against them. If them hear Andrew Wallace talk right now in the marks, who that? Because them never hear the voice yet. Them never hear the voice yet with a tone that, you know, is rebuking some other guys from doing things. No, him is not that type of guy. Andrew wrapped up in everything. And him a both tip on both sides. So you know you not get nothing. I take both sides. My hide and hold along him head when him a choose a one there so. And hold up him head when him a choose a one over there so. I game the Andrew play. So Andrew not just weak for Jamaica, but him weak for CARICOM. And the sooner I leave the space, the better it is for everybody. Not just in Jamaica, but CARICOM and a whole. I yield back the floor.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, want to say a big thanks for passing through, and that is where we're going to leave it tonight. I want to say big thanks to the panel, big thanks to Melting Pot, big thanks to Ratty, right? To always, you know, show and you know, do a wonderful, right, performance here. Really appreciate that, right? Let me just hand over to Wifey to close us out.
Okay, as usual, thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you to the panelists. Remember, guys, tune in to Reason with Rattigan tomorrow night. It's going to be on, so tune in where you can call in and have a reasoning with Mr. Rattigan. And also, we'll be back on Saturday, and we will be back on Thursday and Friday. And tune into all the other channels who are, you know,
Lone Sun,
a positive forward movement for Jamaica. And I'm just gonna say have a wonderful and productive rest of the week until we see each other.
Ratty, hold on, Ratty. You have anything to close out, Ratty? Have anything to say to
No, just tune in tomorrow. Tomorrow I think we're going to the Xavier main story.
Oh.
Yeah, because I see where he sued the IC. So we started on him this past Saturday.
Yeah, imagine.
we're going to talk about him some more, and then we have some additional things we want to talk about. So we have we've collaborated with two groups, one up in New Jersey, Patrick Beckford, and one down in Maryland here.
Yes.
And they've sent off two, as of today, they've sent off 2 containers. And I think the third one is going down next week to help out with the relief effort, because we understand that we cannot depend on the government. We just can't depend on the government, because we're hearing reports from some places where they haven't seen a government person at all. They haven't gotten anything.
Yes.
They're just starving. So people, and by the way, Sunday there's a huge benefit concert in Riviera Beach, Florida. Sunday, I think it's from 10 to 10. So if you can, if you're close by, or if you want to take a trip, then please go down and support the effort. It's all for a worthy cause, and that's because the government is not involved. Oh, and then this Saturday you have to tune in, because we're also gonna do a segment on OutPEM. We're gonna talk about the history of OutPEM, and we're gonna talk about the politics of OutPEM, where it is right now and where it is going to be. And we're also going to talk about the leadership, the incompetence that's there right now. And we saw that with Damien asking the commander a few questions. The commander, just couldn't answer it. And then we'll also talk a little bit about the JPS. One last thing. Today I was watching Parliament, and I saw where Damien started asking Minister Williams about the JPS deal and the amount of money they're getting. And I thought he was going in a particular direction, but then he stopped short of it. So I'll just complete the journey for him. He was asking about the interest rate that the Jamaican government is giving to JPS with the loan, and the interest rate was 5.5. And then he asked her, what's the interest rate that Jamaica is paying on its loans? And she started dilly-dallying and duck and dive and telling him all kind of answer. Well, we found out that in general, Jamaica is paying 5.75% interest. So ask yourself the question, how you can borrow at 5.75, but you lend at 5.5? It makes absolutely no sense.
No.
It makes absolutely no. So we're going to explore her testimony a little bit more. So again, it's a pleasure being here. Always a pleasure being here. This is a place to be on a Tuesday night, people. Tuesday night, early Wednesday morning. So
all right. That's it, honey. All right.
You wanted me to update them?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, guys, just an update on the container initiative that was started. So I have enough now for 1 container, so I'm gonna start sorting that. On Thursday, while I wasn't with Byron, I was busy cooking 26 lunches because that's what I've been doing to raise the money. On Monday coming, I have another 26 or 27 lunches to make again. So I've come up with the money for 1 container, and also today's what? Tuesday. Yesterday I got called by one of the executives at Food for the Poor regarding the Costco initiative. So what they're saying is the government have moved past the recovery, the relief phase. So they're not accepting any more relief donations. It's mostly grants now for building. So now we're gonna move to try to get a grant from Costco instead. They have the form to fill out, but they said they're gonna get back to it in early January after the holidays. So we will keep you guys up to date as to how that will end up going. But for now, they said that no more relief supplies are being accepted to go to Jamaica because the government has moved to the building phase. So I really don't understand that.
I don't understand
that. Still in need of food and other stuff. So
Why would Andrew Holness you know, me just not understand that. But anyway, that's it.
Yeah. So just building they're dealing with now. So it's either grants or
Yeah, which it just doesn't make any sense to me that you understand there's a cutoff line that Andrew Holness administration, right? And they need to answer to this. They need to answer to this why there's a cutoff line. There shouldn't be any cutoff line. Come on, just Maserati, there shouldn't be any cutoff line.
But Byron, the time frame where him give pan you know,
Right.
goods coming in without you have to pay a fee. It's not up yet. So why must stop thing from going in?
Yeah,
I remember
but you know
it's
what?
30 days, you know, and then we'll come out and say something and then we'll extend it, you know. So
Yeah,
the time not pass yet. So why
yeah, but
must stop food from coming out of the country when
I
people
don't
still
know.
hungry?
he specifically said relief supplies, that they're not accepting those anymore right now. They're in the building phase, so it's all the building supplies, and they are mostly interested in grants. And
In grants. So that money them want. Them love hungry money, man. Yeah. Criminal them. And we can't stop telling them say them a criminal. Yeah. Criminal them.
That's
Because
crazy.
them sit down for a whole heap of thing, you know, where they must keep themselves to put at them friend establishment, you know. Because the people them they don't even get half of the supply will come in the country, you know. Not even half. Because remember, I'm not distribute to everybody, you know. I'm distribute to a little small minority who support the Jamaica Labour Party. So where we see, yeah, cause at one time, over 400 cargo plane flying, right? We know them and we know them the relief they don't even reach 50% in distribution. So what Andrew Holness is doing is victimization and suppression of the people. Yeah? And it has to stop. And I think Andrew Holness administration and himself, I mean, the foreign entity them must send in a delegation come audit them, man. Because them know the thing them are coming in, you know. And them hear the people cry. Yeah? And when I get justice on the ground in Jamaica, because the man control the country in such a way that he might run the country upside down, and the people in the country who in charge of holding him accountable for him wrong, they're non-existent. So you have to get foreign counterpart. No, I mean, I talk about nobody from US, you know. Because US, we know US align themselves to the capitalist regime. So some people from UK or even down in Australia, people from within the Commonwealth head of state, come look upon the guy, take a good look upon him and the way he deal with things. Yeah? I want the human rights authority come in and look upon the inhumane treatment of the citizens of Jamaica. Yeah? The people who want to run out of Petersfield School and put them on football ground. Yeah? So those are my closing
you know,
words at the moment.
let me just add one piece. You know, they said that it's gonna take years to build back Jamaica, right? And you figure if it's gonna take years, why the hell would you only say first he said 30 days where you don't pay duties and taxes and whatever?
Yes.
And there was uproar. And then he said 60 days. So he said, and not only that, my understanding is that your goods must be in Jamaica by the 31st. It can't be in transit. Because if it's in transit, it's going to be late and then you're going to have to pay all this stuff. Come on now, man. Have a little heart. You mean say it'll take years to build back and you give them 60 days duty-free concession? VAT, whatever the concession, the customs duties or whatever, 60 days? It should have been more like 6 months.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then go make it worse. Him cut off now and say him no want no. I can't believe this lady and marry. When him say him no want no more.
That's why that me I say because him no exhaust the 60 days yet. Him no exhaust the 60 days yet, you know.
So Empress, no, it's not going to the government, because I was assured by Food for the Poor that the government is not involved in their operations, but they still go off the guidelines by what is they set. Because I made sure that I reiterated that if it's anything to do with the government, then it's not gonna happen. But she reassured me that it's separate and apart, but they still have to go by whatever the government is saying in terms of the supplies that can come in.
All right. So that's it for us. All right. Yeah, man. People, walk good. All right. Blessed.
Here.
Blessed
All right. Thank you, Red.
All right. Cool.
Blessing, my brother.
Blessing.
All right.
Blessing, Sharati.
Bless up, melting pot.
Okay, bless up. Have a blessed week.
I know why you come to me with that foolishness, you know. You elect a prime minister, and is a prime minister run the country. It is time we learn to hold our leaders accountable for their actions and stop making excuses for them. Stop making excuses. Otherwise, go elect the people who really run in the country. And I don't want to write down that stupid argument. Hold the people you elect accountable and stop making excuses for them.